All right, welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily on Oh So Curious. It's going to be a fantastic show. We've got a ton for you today. As per always, we have to talk about, as you saw in the description for the show, Spider-Man Brand New Day. They've added not only Black Widow, but also one of the stars of Severance to the new movie. Of course, James Gunn has always given us new teases as to where Superman is headed, and it looks like we're going to be getting a 4-movie Superman saga. Does that sound a bit familiar? Where have I heard that before? You know, a Superman saga, maybe. I don't know. Was it a trilogy? Was it a 5-part plan? I mean, the sequel to a Superman movie is only sort of a sequel. It might involve some other big hitting, metahumans. James Gunn. Who did that before, and how well did that work out? Anyway, we'll get into all of that. I'm sure some of you guys don't share my skepticism, but hey, John will be here, and we'll get into a lot of DC news, a lot of Marvel news, and so much more. Of course, we have to look forward to Peacemaker, which drops now in less than 24 hours. To do that, and so much more. Of course, let's get this damn show started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number 2.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
Robert
You're
Downey.
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see Corbin.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
All right. Okay. Well, it's time for the news. And before I go any further, I'm going to stop that music there. But I forgot to mention we were talking about Avengers Doomsday today as well. And well,
Who gives a fuck? Nobody cares about Avengers Doomsday. We care about Superman. We care about Spider-Man. Get that the hell out of here.
All right. Well, without further ado, John, how are you doing today? And
I'm great.
From the sounds of it, you're excited. What are you excited to talk
I have
about?
club crackers. I'm excited about that. This was the only thing I could grab before running back before we go live. So, you know.
Nice.
If you hear me crunching, I apologize. But, you know.
All good.
Also, if you hear noise in the background, I have to keep my doors open because it's really hot in my room. I was just playing a game, so my PC was pumping hot. So I got to keep my shit open and to cool my stuff down. So,
yeah,
you know, I got to, boom. But
it's all good.
I'm ready to go.
It's weird because we've got a hurricane coming up the coast, right? And we're in the Northeast here, so I'm hoping that it veers off into the Atlantic, but we'll see. We got, of course, Fiona first in the chat. Hello, how are you doing? Welcome on in. Hope you're doing well. I know she's doing well. You know, she's tired, but she's doing well. Tony is here. Hello, Tony. Patrick, how are you doing, Patrick? No, this is the Patrick. This is not the Krusty Krab. Sorry, I had to go there. Tony lives in Halifax. Wow, I didn't realize, Tony, you were in Canada. That is amazing. Halifax is a beautiful part of Canada. Yes, there we go. Okay, Fiona was keeping the chat calm. All right, I'm trying to catch up here. Trying to catch up with all the chatting in the chat. Right Dude is here. What's up? Hello. Of course, Enterprising as always. How are you doing, Enterprising? Who did we miss? Did we get everybody so far? I think there's more people in the chat, but hey, we'll get to you guys as the show keeps on going. Thank you for joining us live. If you're watching after the fact, then of course, you know, we appreciate that too. Hit the like button, you know, that always helps us out. Is this the Krusty Krab? No, this is Patrick. I love it. I was just, every once in a while, you got to throw on some SpongeBob to make yourself laugh. You know, it's so good. Yep. But John clearly not in Muse, so we're gonna move on to. Oh, hey, hi, Steven. Dan and John, push it to the limit. Yeah, aren't we all? He came in like a wrecking ball.
Oh God, it started raining. All right, well, I'm gonna close my
window open? I thought you were in the basement. I'm kidding. We know you're not in the basement. That's
no,
that's
I showed
that we have debunked.
I do have proof. Look, it's my window and it's open because it's very hot. So I have to Keep that up. My dad's probably
Well,
mad. He's like,
John
"Why
did
you
take
open
a
the window with
break,
the,
but we
with the
were both
rain?"
busy.
I don't care because I'm
It's
hot.
all good.
It's fucking
All
hot
right,
in here.
okay. John, without further ado, as it says down there, it's the news. Actually, before we get into the news, I do want to quickly dive into the polls that we've got going on right now in the YouTube community section. So you guys can go into what they call the post or community section, whatever the YouTube is calling it these days. Fancast Friday. Those are your 4 picks. It's live right now. The poll has been live for about a week now. So tomorrow is decision day. Tomorrow we get to pick whichever of these options gets the biggest, the highest vote, I should say. That's going to be our topic for Fancast Friday, as it says in the name, on Friday. Of course, recasting Cap and Tony post Secret Wars. That's something Kevin Feige has said will probably happen. So, we could do that. The DCU Brainiac. It's lost the vote twice in a row, coming in second. And the last I checked, it was leading the vote this week. DCU Power Girl, which was tied with Brainiac earlier in the week, now a step or 2 behind in the voting. And then MCU Professor X and Magneto, of course, Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart coming back for Avengers Doomsday, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But beyond that, we know we're going to be getting a fresh cast for the MCU iteration proper of the X-Men. So, of course, we can't not have those 2 gentlemen be cast for that. So we also, John, after yesterday's Tier List Tuesday, put up the new poll for next week's Tier List Tuesday. So if you guys haven't already, we see a few of you already have. Right now, Green Lantern's characters are leading the way for Tier List Tuesday. We can rank all the different Green Lanterns. We're talking more about the characters, less so the actors in this case. So Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan, of course. You got Jon Stewart, Jessica Cruz, Kyle Rayner. I'm sure we're going to get into all of them. Then John Wick movies and Spider-Man movies are tied at second. Actually, Phase 1 MCU movies also tied in second. There's a 3-way tie in second place. So Phase 1 movies for the MCU got the second most votes last week, which is why it's back this week, but still coming in behind the leader so far. So that's just a quick reminder. You guys can go on the YouTube chat. Oh, not chat, the community section. Go to youtube.com/osocurious. And in the community or the post section, vote for your picks there. And with that, John, we have to dive into the news now because we have a lot of news to get into. The very first thing I wanted to talk about real quick, I know that this upcoming movie is extremely exciting because, well, it's another Stephen King adaptation, which nowadays we get one pretty much every other week. It's like, the number of heroes in the MCU.
I think we've gotten 4. We're getting 4 or 5 this year.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Stephen King, if you want to put it that way. And the latest adaptation of one of his books is going to be The Long Walk. And we finally have some what you would call first reactions, right? And these aren't full reviews, but people have seen the movie early and the critics are talking about it in a non-spoilery fashion. And they're calling it harrowing, traumatizing. The film ranks with Stephen King's best works. The Hunger Games meets a not so leisurely stroll in Francis Lawrence's adaptation of a cult favorite King novel. Some of the initial reactions are pretty fantastic. Here's a sample in the Hollywood Reporter. The directs Russ Milheim said The Long Walk is an incredibly harrowing, terrifying, and traumatizing film. Then you got Perry Nemiroff from Collider saying The Long Walk, easily one of the most intense emotional wallops of the year. John, let me bring you in now. Your reaction to this. I know you're excited about it. Mark Hamill in this movie, hamming it up. What are your thoughts on what we're getting here? And are you looking forward to it now that you're seeing some of these reactions?
I was looking forward to it beforehand. I love the cast. I like the guy who plays Brett Garrity. I constantly forget his name, but he was in Licorice Pizza and Saturday Night, and he was really good in those movies. Cooper Hoffman. There we go. Cooper Hoffman. And then the karate. This 1, 2, 3. The 4th Karate Kid, Ben Wong, is also in this. As well as a couple other people.
He's in the middle right there.
Yep. The kid from Jojo Rabbit is in this. There was another kid, the kid from Clove Hitch Killer. I don't know if anybody watched that. Great movie. Charlie Plummer, I think his name is. I like him. I think it's a very good cast of men, and I think they'll do a wonderful job. Francis Lawrence. I'm not going to act like that's a bad choice because, it's like, oh my God, the original Hunger Games. Let's get the guy who did Hunger Games to do, Stephen King's Hunger Games. what is now, even though it's not really Hunger, but you know what it is. It's, you know, the battle royale thing. And but I know Frank Darabont wanted to get this off the ground for years, but it never got there. And I would have loved to have seen that. But Francis Lawrence is another very talented director that I'm excited for. The only thing that was iffy about, the only thing I was a little iffy about was the writer J.T. Molnar. He wrote and directed last year's Strange Darling, which was like this. It was one of those movies that wasn't like hugely popular. It wasn't like Superman, but it was like in the circles I'm in, it got nothing but overwhelmingly positive praise. I'm like, okay, cool, let me watch this. And I was hugely disappointed. I thought it was, for the most part, not very interesting, kind of boring until like halfway through the movie. Then it started to get interesting. But by that point, I was like, okay, I'm kind of checked out now. But The Long Walk, I've been excited for this since it was announced. And I pray to Christ, because I've read bits and pieces of the book. I spoiled the ending for myself way back when. And I'm just going to say this.
Well,
Francis Lawrence, you better fucking do the ending. I'm not going to say what the ending is. I'm just saying, do the ending. I will if Francis Lawrence does the book ending, I am automatically giving this movie a 10 out of 10. Like, straight up, like, I will actually, John, I will stay true to that too. Even if the movie sucks, I will still give it a 10 out of 10 if it does the book ending.
Like, you look at the review, right? I didn't even and by the way, we got Frankie in the chat as well, and I saw Nelson joined in too. So welcome on everybody who's coming in right now. Hit the like button while you're here. John, one of the reviews here, look, Chris Gallardo from the Real Rollers said an absolutely brutal experience that left me visibly shocked. So I can only imagine that this will probably play it very close to the original book from Stephen King. So if you're absolutely shocked by the end of the movie, it must have a good ending, like Tony is saying. We all hope that this thing's going to turn out well, because as we're going to talk about in a little bit, the fall box office could use a few hits, because right now it's looking rough. But hey, to answer your question, Stephen King's your favorite movie from Stephen King, John, Stephen was asking, did you have one that kind of stands above the rest?
Oh, Shawshank. It's like not even close.
Shawshank,
it's like nobody, like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great King adaptations. Like Misery is excellent. I would say Dolores Claiborne is up there, kind of underrated. Gerald's Game is excellent. But like Shawshank is on another level. Like that was like not even close.
For me, it would be Shawshank too. What we should do is maybe we should put that as an option for a tier list. That would be a good tier list.
That tier list would be like 6 days long. Like,
okay, but I'm saying maybe we'll need to cut it down. We'll maybe need to do it in 2 parts. Like we've talked about doing best trilogies of all time. That's like a 5-part. So maybe that could be like what we'd take on in
that would be like a 20-part saga.
Month. Dude, we should do that during the holiday season, right? Like when we are like there's less news going about, and we'll just do tier lists like all week long. Tier list
Monday through with Friday.
Tier list.
Merry Christmas, everyone. It's tier list.
All that said, though, guys, we have the first reactions to The Long Walk. Mark Hamill, Ben Wang. I mean, John pointed out it's got a stacked cast, and the reactions, people are shocked. They're calling it brutal, terrifying, horrifying. If you read the book, does it live up to your expectations so far? Let us know in the comments down below. Are you more excited now that you have seen these first reactions? Because I'm sure when the reviews come out, hopefully, fingers crossed, they will be just as good as what their first reactions are. Let us know in the comments what you think about that. We'd love to hear from you. Now, let's pivot over to one of the biggest stories of the day. Earlier today, I saw this come across my timeline, and all the big outlets are carrying it. We have not one, but 2. We're going to start with the first one, the big addition to the cast of Spider-Man Brand New Day. This comes to us now, of course, from Variety. They broke it exclusively. They were the first ones, and everybody else picked it up. Tremel Tillman, the breakout star of Severance. His dance sequences are still some of the most memorable moments from both seasons. The creep factor, the eat feculence, it also means, or devour feculence, which is also known as eat shit.
Weird. I don't know why I wasn't showing up. That was weird.
Anyway. No. I was just introing the story, John. I was just gonna mention Tremel Tillman is on the run of his like life right now, between obviously Severance, which is ongoing. His character is going to be back in the next season, and he just did Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
Now
that's what I
he
was gonna ask.
joins.
Yeah.
Now he joins the MCU, Spider-Man: Brand New Day. This is big, John. Here's what Variety said: Tremel Tillman is heading from the severed floor to the streets of New York City. The Emmy-nominated actor is joining the cast of Sony and Marvel's Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Variety has learned exclusively, and then, like I mentioned, everybody else has picked up the story later as the day has gone on. Now, details on his character in the new movie are under wraps, but he'll of course be joining an already studded movie with Tom Holland Spider-Man, Zendaya's MJ Jones Watson. You got Jacob Batalon's Ned Leeds coming back as well, and we know we got a couple of other superheroes already in there. The familiar faces like John Bernthal's Punisher. We know Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is going to be back. And we also, of course, have Sadie Sink and Lisa Colon-Zayas, both of them playing mysterious roles so far. And the same seems to be true, at least for now, for Tremel Tillman. John, I want to get your take on this. Another actor who is just on the rise. I mean, you got Sadie Sink already in this movie. Now you have Tremel Tillman. We obviously have some of the usual suspects in there. What do you think Tremel will bring to the table that the other actors do not? And do you care to speculate what role he might be playing?
I honestly really don't know. He could be playing who Bill Nunn played in the original movies. What is his name? I'm gonna hang on. I gotta look it up because it's gonna bother me. And
well, while you do that, I did want to point out, of course, not
Robbie
only
Robertson. Robbie Robertson. He could be
go.
playing him. Because that's a very well-known, likable character, and the thing is, they might not want to put J. Jonah Jameson with him playing the role and everything. He might be a little bit too expensive. J.K. Simmons might be a little bit crossing the budget there. And so they're like, okay, let's get someone, if they're gonna go into the direction of Peter working for the Daily Planet. Or the Daily Planet, Jesus Christ, Daily Bugle. Sorry, I have DC on the mind. I apologize. Anyway, for the Daily Bugle, and they don't want J.K. Simmons a lot or to overshadow it or whatever, then they could have Robbie Robertson come in and Tremel Tillman could play him. I think that would be awesome because he definitely has that kind of vibe, like that sort of voice of reason, kind of all knowledgeable kind of vibe. That's the vibe I got with Mission Impossible, and that's the only thing I've seen from him. I haven't seen Severance yet, so that's the only thing I could really judge. But yeah, I think that's I think that could be a good one. Or maybe he could be playing a villain, but I don't really get that vibe from. I mean, the man is probably a tremendous actor, and he could probably play a villain very well. Maybe he's playing Tombstone for all I know. I don't know.
Well,
but we'll see.
Yeah. We'll like you said, we'll see. It's so far they clearly don't want to reveal this. And obviously this isn't something where they put out a press release. This is Variety learning through their sources. Now, of course, Tremel Tillman is currently Emmy nominated for a Severance, playing Seth Milchick. He's nominated for Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. If I were him, I would be expecting to walk away with an Emmy. And not only that, but of course, he's currently shooting Amazon MGM's Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother, and Lena Dunham's Netflix film Good Sex. So his additional film credits include HBO Max's Sweethearts, crime drama Baron's Cove, and his television credits after, of course, Severance also include the AMC series Dietland, Godfather of Harlem, and Hunters. So, like I said, the man is on the roll of his lifetime. He's in that Mission Impossible movie that came out this year, which I just got on digital because I pre-ordered it. It finally arrived, in my iTunes library. But Tremel Tillman, Oscar-nominated actor, he's now joining Spider-Man: Brand New Day. But also for a lot of you guys, if you're a fan of the MCU, the bigger casting news for Spider-Man today is hearing that we might be getting yet another potential Avenger, or to be, or maybe pseudo Avenger joining the cast. We know that one of the OG Avengers, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, is already in the movie. The extent of his role we don't know yet. We know John Bernthal's Punisher is in the movie. We have seen that his Punisher van already. He's finished up filming his Disney Plus special and going on to film, of course, for Spider-Man: Brand New Day. We don't quite know yet, who is playing who in terms of a lot of these, mystery roles with Tramel Tillman and Sadie Sink. However, John, earlier in the day, Daniel Rickman, of course, one of these famous scoopers, he pointed out that Florence Pugh, aka the new Black Widow, has joined the cast of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Of course, we have seen her in multiple projects, including Thunderbolts this year. That movie, while it didn't do terribly well, of course, establishes a new Avengers team in the MCU, which includes seemingly, putting Yelena Belova, her character, as the leader of that new Avengers team. Now, while this isn't confirmed by all the big outlets yet, John, Florence Pugh, it seems like comicbookmovie.com were able to corroborate using their sources that Daniel Rickman is on the money and she is joining the movie. And it looks like there's been some signs of this before, because both actors, Florence Pugh and Tom Holland, on red carpets and other media interviews over the course of the past year or so, they've talked about potentially joining forces. They're both Brits. They would love to work together in the MCU, cross paths. And they've mentioned as much in the past, going all the way back to when Spider-Man No Way Home debuted, and on the red carpet, Tom Holland was asked about it. So again, so far, this is not confirmed, but it is getting closer to being a reality. And let's just assume for the time being that this is true. I'd imagine that Florence Pugh is in the movie in the sense that she is the leader of the new Avengers, and therefore, the Spider-Man movie doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's in New York, so they're going to cross paths. Maybe she shows up. I don't think she would have a big role if that's the direction they're going in, but I want to hear from you. What do you think this means? And clearly at this point, I mean, Kevin Feige was bullshitting us about the whole thing that this is a more grounded Spider-Man movie, right? Like, you got Punisher, the Hulk, you've got Florence Pugh. For all we know, some of the other new Avengers might show up as well. Maybe
just like
Bucky
Fantastic Four just comes in out of fucking nowhere.
What do you think, John? What do you think about Florence Pugh's Black Widow? Yelena Belova joining up with Spidey, Peter Parker.
Kevin, may I call you Kevin? Well, fuck you. I'm calling you Kevin anyway. Can we please, for the love of everything that is holy, just get a Spider-Man movie with just Spider-Man in the fucking movie fighting any villain? 1, 2, maybe even 3. Maybe not that many. That was crowded. Last time the Spider-Man movies were that crowded, didn't bode well. But please, for the love of fuck, I want to be excited for this movie. Spider-Man is one of my all-time favorite superheroes of all time. For many people, he is. And I just, like, you finally hit it home with No Way Home. You got back to where he should be with this character. And what you're doing here, if this is true, this is beyond fucking stupid. Can we please not have 17 fucking million heroes in this movie supporting Spider-Man? If it's a drive-by of like, hey, here they are, and then bye. Okay, fine. Like, if she's like, hi, Peter, bye, Peter. Cool, great, awesome. Or if same thing with the Hulk. Hey, Peter, bye, Peter. But, well, they don't know who he is, but you know what I mean. It's just like, I'm so fucking sick of like that was the thing I was worried about with Superman. Obviously they made it work, but the thing is, it's just like, the thing is with Superman, like they did make it work. And here's the thing, that's James Gunn. The man has had a lot of movies under his belt, a lot of superhero movies under his belt. He knows what he's doing. I don't mean to sound mad to Defsel Daniel Cretin, or however the fuck you pronounce his stupid name.
Wow.
He only has one. He only has one movie under his name, and it's Shang-Chi, and that was relatively mixed to positive, but overall, like, a decently, made movie. I just want to see Spider-Man fighting a bad guy. I don't want to see Spider-Man with not Black Widow, with not regular Hulk and Punisher fighting something. Like, it's a lot. Now, maybe they can make it work, but it just shows that it just, just keep it to Spider-Man fighting people. Like, we had Iron Man Jr. in the first movie. You had fucking Mysterio Jr. in the second, and then you had, like, Doctor Strange in the third one. It's like, like the last bit of it, like we finally got there. He's gonna be on his own. Great, awesome. Let's keep it that way, please. Instead of like you can have all these, just like give us one. Just give us one. And the thing is, the next Spider-Man 5, it's gonna be past the fucking reset anyway. So just give us this little bit, and then you're probably gonna fucking change it for the reset anyway. And so just like give us that. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Here's my theory, John. I think it's also just a matter of they're clearly reworking parts of this movie because now that Doomsday comes out after Spider-Man, I think there's probably gonna end up being more tie-ins to Avengers Doomsday. So clearly Marvel's trying to get back to doing I think that one of the lessons they learned, or Kevin Feige learned, or just the whole team over there is, look, the reason why phase 4 was really bad was because everything felt disjointed. I think now they're trying to put a lot of these connections that tie these movies directly together. So whether that will do well for them or backfire, we'll have to find out. But yeah, I mean, they were literally gonna give Destin Daniel Cretton one of the 2 Avengers movies before the I think he was gonna do the original, was it Secret Wars? Yes, it was still Secret Wars after Kang Dynasty. I think he was meant to direct
I thought he was gonna do Kang Dynasty.
Was it him? Oh, well, he was gonna direct one of the 2 Avengers movies before the Russos came back and they got both of them. So no, I do know Black Cat. I just wondering if Frankie G was implying that Florence Pugh should have been Yelena Belova, or if maybe if Sadie Sink is playing. Sorry, if it would have been Black Cat, or if Sadie Sink is playing, because that we have seen rumors. I know it's Felicia Hardy. I know who Black Cat is. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, as far as Destin Daniel Cretton goes, clearly they trust the man with the job, and well, you know, the advice he was given by the previous director of the Spider-Man MCU trilogy was, don't film this practically because you're going to end up replacing it all in post with CG anyway. But hey, he's doing his thing his way. He did a great job at the Shang-Chi movie. I love it. It was one of the best movies post-pandemic for the MCU. Is still to this day one of the better ones that they've done since that big finale. And of course, now this movie ends up being the big MCU movie of the summer, the only other movie on the calendar for the MCU next year besides Avengers Doomsday, which comes out all the way in Christmas. Oh, I see what you mean. Instead of having Florence Pugh, well, I mean, you might still have Black Cat in the movie, Frankie. It might just be played by Sadie Sink or somebody else. You never know. Or they might be saving the Black Cat character for down the road, or maybe Sony has plans for them. So, yeah, no, it's okay, Tony. I that was not the reason why I was asking who he meant. I think it was just a bit confusing because Frankie was just like, instead of it should have been Black Cat. I was like, who should have been Black Cat? Like, you can't all of a sudden have Florence Pugh be recast as a different character after she's been in like 3 other MCU things. So I think the ship has sailed on that one. But you know what? The ship is currently, on the way and sailing to the movie theater near you next summer with Spider-Man Brand New Day. We now have 2 new stars, award-winning, Emmy-nominated, stars, Tremel Tillman, from Severance. He's joined up, and of course Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, the leader of the new Avengers, joining up with Spider-Man Brand New Day. What roles will they play in the movie? How big of a part will they have to play in the next film? You let us know, and of course we'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Right now we have a couple of other things to talk about regarding the upcoming MCU slate. Of course, Avengers Doomsday is going to be the movie that will be the big crescendo at the box office next Christmas. Not this Christmas, but next Christmas. So this Christmas we get an Avatar movie, but next year in December we get Avengers Doomsday. Now, rumors have been rampant lately. John, we seem to have another one popping up from Daniel RPK. He is the one who's revealed that Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova is going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. He's also said that Doctor Doom is reportedly after the people who caused the incursions in Avengers Doomsday, basically telling us that, hey, look, the reason why Doctor Doom is so mad, and maybe who he's going after, has everything to do with all these incursions that have happened in the MCU over the course of the last couple of phases. Now, of course, we're currently at phase 6. We went through phases 4 and 5, and phase 6 started with Fantastic Four. So I went through the comments. These comments, are talking about mostly who are the people that caused all these incursions. The other day we were talking about how Steve Rogers potentially caused a lot of incursions when he went back in time to return all the artifacts, all the stones from the Infinity Gauntlet, and ended up staying in an alternate reality back in the 40s with Peggy Carter, and had his happy ending. that seems to be maybe how Captain America comes back in this movie. Of course, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange have had their fair share of incursion-causing events, including the last Spider-Man movie. And we saw at the end of that, Clea comes in and takes him away to like solve an incursion. Loki, of course, in the TV show, you have seen incursion or two that he might have caused. Wanda definitely probably caused an incursion or two, with the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, John. But just to kind of take a step back, do you think that this is really true, that this is why Dr. Doom, Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom, is going to be coming after all these different heroes, is because he sees the path to solving the multiverse equation is basically go out there and either kill those heroes before they cause the incursions, or I don't know, like go for revenge. I suppose there's a few different ways you can go about it, but it certainly paints a picture where his motivation kind of becomes somewhat justifiable. It's like he's the hero in his own mind, doing the right thing, kind of like General Zod.
Oh, so like Thanos. So like fucking
like
Thanos.
That's another way to put it. But
again, can we stop? Can we? Again, I'm Kevin, buddy, Kevin. Or the Russo brothers, but Kevin, can we just have a villain that's evil because they can be? Like, I know that, like, oh, that's boring, that's one-dimensional. You can make it work. A good writer, not the fuckheads writing the damn movie now, or good directors, which definitely not the Russo brothers, they could make, like, good people can make that work. Look at Superman 2, fucking General Zod, Terrence Stamp, may he rest in peace. One of the best villains of all time. What's his plan? Wants to take over Earth. Why? I'm super powered now because I fucking can. Boom. There you go. Easy. And awesome villain. Fucking awesome villain. Sauron. He just wants to fucking take over Middle Earth. Why? Because he can. Because he's all powerful. Because he wants power. Boom. Easy. Lord of the Rings. One of the greatest trilogies of all time. Arguably the greatest trilogy of all time. But like, just have a guy that's just evil. Dr. Doom is fucking evil. Cool. Great. Make it work. But no, it's like, oh, we have to make him this fucking hero. No, fuck you. Fuck your hero of his own story bullshit. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of that shit. Thanos started this whole horse shit of like, the heroes of their own story. And now like every villain has to be sympathetic or this or that. And I'm fucking sick of it. Just give me a fucking evil guy. I want an evil guy. Give me an evil guy. Dr. Doom, pinnacle of a great villain who's just evil. What does he want? He wants Reed Richards' head for making him fucking like disfigured or whatever the fuck it is. He wants Reed Richards. He wants maybe to steal Sue Storm, and he wants to bring his mom back from hell. Cool, great, awesome. And he wants to maybe not be scarred. Cool, okay, great. I'm fucking so sick of this shit. Like, I understand this is just rumor mill. I pray to every higher power in the known universe it's just rumor mill. But I'm just so fucking sick of this whole, the Thanos syndrome is what I call it. The Thanos effect, where it's just like every villain has to be the hero of their own story. All this other, like fucking Miguel O'Hara in Across the Spider-Verse. Don't get me wrong, Across the Spider-Verse is a great movie, but I'm like, that was like, oh, I'm going after this because of this thing. And I'm just fucking sick of it. I'm so sick of it. I'm done.
Well, John,
I'm seeing this garbage anyway, but like, I'm just like, guys, this is not how you resurrect your fucking dying franchise. Like, it's ridiculous. They're just they are trying so fucking hard to rekindle the greatness, quote unquote. I use the term very loosely because it's really not that great when you think about it for 2 seconds. But they're trying to rekindle the fucking the $4 billion success of Infinity War and Endgame when you're just not going to get that due to COVID, due to the Marvel dying brand of Marvel, superhero fatigue, all three, no three, whatever reasoning you want to give it, it's done. Goodbye. We're done. You're not going to ever get that again. I'm sorry. That's like, I still have my bet with C Black. I don't think Spider-Man's going to get $1 billion, even though Spider-Man is the most popular fucking hero of all time. I definitely don't think, with all this shit going on with Doomsday, if these rumors are true, if like, fucking Robert Downey Jr. is unhappy, if there's like tension on set, egos, like I cannot imagine. You're gonna have to pull the ultimate shit out of your fucking ass to make this a $1 billion success, let alone a $2 billion success. The only movie post-COVID to make $2 billion is Way of Water and Neja 2, which is a huge red flag because God knows China's probably flubbing those numbers because they're fucking insane over there. But well, the leaders, the Chinese people are fine, but just the leader of the Communist Party. Anyway, it's just this whole fucking thing. I feel like Kevin Feige just how do we like exceed the amount of desperation we're like clawing at day by day. It seems like they are trying so fucking hard to out desperatify themselves. I know that's not a word, but whatever. It's just mind-boggling how fucking absolutely desperate of a fucking company that Marvel Studios has become. It's ridiculous. I'm just so sick of it, and I'm just like so like even Spider-Man feels desperate. Oh, we got to throw in Hulk, we got to throw in Punisher, we got to throw in Black Widow, even though nobody gives a flying fuck about Yelena Belova. It's just like I just don't understand it. Just like strip it back. Don't have it cost $500 million. Hire writers who actually know a thing about this shit. And like you're gonna just go back to fucking like I don't know, just try. Like I don't know what the question was, Tony. I don't know what the question was. I'm just mad because I'm mad mainly because I am a Marvel fan, not just an MCU fan. I'm a Marvel fan. I haven't read every fucking comic in the known universe, but I'm still a fan. I still like these guys. I want them to be a success because I love these characters, and exactly that. But just making him like the hero of its own story bullshit, it's just boring. And I just want them to be like at least like somewhat good again, but they're too far up their own ass anymore. Exactly. There is no like you can't have that. So I just want this company to like try at least attempt to be good. Maybe I'm putting too much faith in a corporation and I'm an idiot for that. I don't fucking know. But James Gunn and David Zaslav seem to be fucking doing the right moves, even though, you have the skepticism with the Superman saga, but we'll get into that later. But anyway, I've ranted too long. Dan, what do you want to say?
I was just going to say, crackers. Going back to the pre-Avengers level scale, it's not a bad place to be, by the way, Tony. Here's what I will say though. I kind of disagree with what you're saying, John, because I think to me, like here's the thing. Well, there's a couple of things. It's not unfamiliar, like what Sergio was saying, like, well, actually I'll get to Sergio's point in a second. It's not the first time we have seen Marvel do this. Like some of the best Marvel villains are the ones that are more complex, like in their mind, because we're all the heroes of our own story, right? Like there's probably people in your life who don't like you as much as other people do. So, but in your opinion, you think you're a pretty good person. I mean, yes, there's like the whole self-esteem thing. Some people just feel bad about themselves. Other people are could be so high on themselves that you consider them a narcissist. But anyway, so with villains in movies like General Zod or like a Thanos, like the more memorable villains are the ones who, I'm not saying they need to be sympathetic villains, or like Killmonger, one of the most memorable ones. We still talk about him because you could understand where he was coming from. Yes, he was still a psychopath who wanted to kill half the world to achieve his claims, but like I understand, like it's more a matter of you gotta flesh out these characters so they're not so one-dimensional where they're just mustache twirling villains. Because every time we have gotten those are the ones we forget most easily, right? Like you go back to Christopher Eccleston, when he played, what was it, the elves or whatever they were in the second Malekith in the second Thor movie, like one of the most forgettable, one of the more forgettable, even though that's an underrated Thor movie, certainly far from the best of those 4 Thor movies that we have gone.
Not the worst, though.
Not the worst, but maybe right above it. So, and then there's plenty of other examples of that, right? It's so I think for me, the best villains, like Sergio said, and hello Sergio, best villains are the ones with complexity, like Kingpin, Magneto. Dr. Doom is one of the best. Yes, and so you do,
Yeah.
and so you have to give him some dimension. You have to flesh out his backstory, his motivation. He can't just be out there to kill characters for no reason. And here's the thing about that, Frankie. Actually, put that back up. As far as talking about Heath Ledger's Joker, yes, you do. You do know why they're evil. They don't drill it all the way down to like explaining all the logic behind it. But the reason, and I can tell you this is I have spent a lot of time writing, and researching about the character and the philosophy behind Heath Ledger's Joker. He is the ultimate, nihilist. Yes, he doesn't want the world to burn, but also you could clearly tell the man, like when he talks about like, I don't have a plan, I'm not a schemer, like these are all schemers. He is exactly that. The Joker is the biggest schemer in that movie. He has intricately laid plans that he sees to perfection, pretty much to the point where Joker wins his argument at the end of the movie. The Dark Knight has a pretty dark ending. Batman has to become, the martyr in the sense that, people like he is the villain by the end of the movie in the eyes of Gotham City, because the Joker ended up winning, his side of the argument. He plays dirty or whatever, but like Heath Ledger's Joker, there's a lot more dimension to him. He's not just a mustache twirling Joker who just wants, like, it's a summary, and it's in that scene, and some men just want to watch the world burn. Yes, it sounds great, it's very effective in the moment, but that's a summation of a character that has a lot more dimension to him. And that's why Heath Ledger's Joker is probably one of the best, if not the best superhero villain of all time. Thanos, for example, like what they did with him just in Infinity War alone, because I think what we got in Endgame was a fraction of the character that we got in Infinity War. He's a fully fleshed out character. So I think in that same sense, and then ex-military, you're right, Tony. I mean, there's a lot more, background to that. Michael Fassbender, I think, did a great job of playing Magneto. Ian McKellen coming back in that role did a great job. And then look, even Lex Luthor. Here's the thing: the Lex Luthor that Nicholas Hoult played wasn't a one-dimensional, mustache twirling villain either. To the point he addresses it himself. Like if you go back and watch Superman, Lex Luthor is the exact opposite. If anything, I think Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor felt more mustache twirling in a lot of ways, even though he still had other aspects to it. I think they were well-written characters. Hosea, hello, how are you doing? Hugo Millie in the chat as well. But and then as far as they should be able to include villains who are just evil. But here's the thing: the MCU. This is the other side of the argument. The MCU has always tried to replicate. Look, while James Gunn has said the DCU isn't the world outside your window. There is no New York City, there's no LA, they have Coast City, they have Gotham, they have Metropolis, right? The MCU, on the other hand, is exactly that. The MCU doesn't pretend. The MCU is literally meant to feel like our world, but slightly elevated, and there's superheroes there. And, aliens and blah, 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 like multiple parallel universes and all that stuff, the multiverse. So they've always, from the get-go, tried to ground their villains somewhat and give them these motivations and make them feel like they're not just flat, one-dimensional, cartoonistic villains. So in that sense, I think if this is true, then it certainly like starts to put the pieces together of like the why of Avengers Doomsday, because we are all wondering why, and why RDJ's playing Dr. Doom. So I think it will start to make a lot more sense, because now it's a familiar face with a different character coming after them for these specific reasons. It also, again, ties together a lot of these things that have been happening in the multiverse saga, and even before that, because all of us wanted to have that whole Captain America goes back in time to return all the Infinity Stones thing addressed. They might be finally addressing it. I mean, I think that's a win in our book. So, and then if you just want the no complexity and just fun, there's plenty of terrible superhero movies and TV shows where you had terrible villains who were one-dimensional, who just wanted to twirl their mustaches and, just have fun and be forgotten about when the movie or TV show episode ends. You can watch them at home. You can watch them on a streaming service. You can even watch them on Tubi or Pluto. But I, for one, if I'm going to go watch a $500 million Avengers movie where they're paying like a quarter of that to RDJ alone, I want to freaking know that guy has like a reason for existing in this world. So chicken tenders with mayo and ketchup actually sounds fantastic, Steven. There's a difference between what we're getting with the MCU and the DCU, and again, I'm not trying to defend the MCU. I'm just telling you that I'm telling you how it's been and how all of these pieces add up. All that to say, we could get a terrible Avengers Doomsday, or we could get a great Avengers Doomsday. Like as far as them making $1 billion, I think it's more of a guarantee than any movie next year to make $1 billion. And as far as whether they can make it to 2 billion. I think that's a bit of a reach because where the MCU is right now, its ceiling is 1.5 or so billion dollars. Leftover lasagna also sounds amazing, Hosea. But with that, John, there is one more MCU story I wanted to touch upon. This is more of another rumor. I mean, not even a rumor. It's just like, people trying to connect some dots together, because we have also talked about in the past, are we going to get both Wiccan and Speed in the MCU? The kids of Scarlet Witch, of course, and Agatha all along. We saw Joe Locke play a version of he was playing, was it Wiccan? I think he was, right? Like he's or meant to be playing Wiccan, but like we so far don't really know who's going to be Speed, and so they've gone in this really roundabout way to try to make it all work. But recently, rumors have been swirling that we might have a Speed for the MCU, and then recently, Joe
the stuff
Locke
on Kevin Feige's desk.
Yeah. Joe Locke and Ruaridh Malika. It looks like Ruaridh. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was recently spotted alongside Joe Locke.
Looks like Joseph Quinn from Temu.
I know. That's what I thought. But like, it looks like he might be playing.
I love how like Joe Locke. He looks like, I don't know, mid-20s. This dude looks like he's in his 40s on the right. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be twins. Maybe it's just an unflattering angle, but I'm just like, oh yeah, that guy's in his 20s. That guy on the right is his dad. Like that's like the vibe I got. No offense, but like, I'm just like, that's supposed to be his twin? What?
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm sure he'll do a good job, but
it's also, but here's the thing though, the logic behind all of this is kind of like non-existent. Like, Scarlet Witch didn't have kids in the MCU, so right there, it's like they're a figment of her imagination to begin with. So I still don't understand the logic behind how they will come together and actually exist. But like, I'm sure we'll figure that out eventually. So there you go. But this is not confirmed. This is just oh yeah, actor with another actor in a photo. They must be in the same show together. It's a rumor. So there you go. You guys let us know if you believe that or not. By the way, I don't think Spider-Man Brand New Day is making 3 billion. It could make $1 billion. It could maybe even get close to the last movie, which made almost 2 billion, but it would have to be really, really good. And I don't care to predict that until we get to a point where we have trailers to look at and really then see what the hype around the movie is.
I don't think it'll make $1 billion, but that's just me.
Hey,
no, I know they're fraternal twins, but like, I'm just saying they don't look the same age. Like, I mean, sure, they're they might not look alike, but they have to, be at least kind of the same age. And not like a guy that looks like his fucking dad. But
I mean, they don't look 39, Frankie. I mean, they don't look like teenagers either, but they don't look 39. Maybe in that picture they do. But okay, so Tony was joking about the 3 billion. It's not going to make 3 billion, Hugo. Don't worry, none of us are under that impression. I think 1.2 billion for Superman would have been a good guess in a pre-pandemic era. I think in hindsight, Hosea. I think
that's okay, Hosea. We still love you.
For the most part, I mean, even I think came up like a good 200 million over the mark. So, good question though. I know we were talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day earlier. I think MJ will probably get her memory back, maybe by the end of the movie.
Maybe not in the fourth movie, but maybe in like 5 or 6.
Yeah, because I was thinking maybe they meet and then like they form a connection, and she doesn't realize that she already knew him. And then they kind of build up to the point where eventually the memory comes back.
It's like it's like that movie The Vow with Channing Tatum.
Yeah, sort of.
But in this case, she actually gets her memory back.
That new Channing Tatum movie where what is he playing? He lives in a Toys R Us. Roof, so good.
That looks good. I like Channing Tatum. I like Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah,
and then Lakeith Stanfield is in that, right?
Yeah, like Lakeith Stanfield. He's great in anything he's in. I mean, and of course, Peter Dinklage. I was gonna say,
just the fucking,
So that trailer I've watched like 10 times. It's amazing. I've seen it in theaters. I've seen it on YouTube. Looks fun. Pre-pandemic, fantastic. I don't know if Fantastic Four would have made $1 billion easy. Maybe if it came out during like Phase 3 when the MCU was at the peak of its powers. But Superman getting around 600 million, I think is going to probably cross that number. It's definitely going to cross that number. So that's not bad in today's world. Magic Children, Dan, are Wiccan and Speed. With Mephisto confirmed, I wouldn't be surprised if he had some involvement. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it would mean that Mephisto would have made a deal with Scarlet Witch at some point, but then also we kind of left to figure out like who is more. Again, it's magic. I'm gonna stop applying like normal logic to it because they can just be like whatever. Like it is what it is because like it's magic, so whatever. I don't care. We're finally free of Zendaya. I don't think Zendaya is going anywhere, Tony. Don't you worry.
No,
I think
no.
Tom Holland and Zendaya. I mean, well, you know, they're a couple in real life. I think they're not ready to part ways in the MCU either. But yeah, I know the international numbers. We'll talk about that later, though, Enterprising, as far as where Superman is at the box office. But in the meantime, let us know in the comments down below what you think about the news. But hey, it's not really news. It's more of a rumor still, like Avengers Doomsday. Dr. Doom is going after all the MCU heroes and characters, whether they're heroes, anti-heroes, or whatever, who have caused these incursions in the past, 4 or 5 years of MCU movies, the phases 5 and 6, maybe even, phase 4 and 5, and maybe even like what, Steve Rogers did at the end of Avengers Endgame. That's all what leads to this multiversal edition of Dr. Doom coming in, wanting to wipe the slate clean, maybe save the multiverse. So he's trying to do it for reasons that he thinks are valid. Then obviously it puts him at odds with all these other heroes, the X-Men, the Avengers, and so on and so forth. So we'll talk about that later. Of course, I'm sure there'll be more reports on this. You guys let us know what you think about it in the comments. Elite Easy wants more magic and more space in the MCU. I'm sure we'll be getting a lot more of that in the Avengers movies. So yeah, and Zendaya is amazing. I think we'll be getting plenty of her character in the upcoming movies and beyond. But hey, if you guys are here watching live, hit the like button. As always, we appreciate it. Elite Easy just joining in. John, the next story I want to quickly cover here is, look, we've talked about box office for literally the past 3-4 months, even before both Superman and Fantastic Four came out. I know that we were just having a conversation about box office numbers for both Fantastic Four and Superman. We know that for the first time in 17 years, a DC movie is going to win the box office versus Marvel being the highest grossing superhero movie of the year. That being, of course, Superman. And Fantastic Four comes in second. Now, Fantastic Four and Superman got off to virtually identical starts at the opening weekend. Then the story from that opening weekend to the second weekend changed completely. Because while Superman held on to like a good 50 or so % drop at the second weekend, when you look at Fantastic Four, it had like a 60+% drop, which is much more significant, especially because Superman overall ended up, making, I think it was like 4 or 5 million more overall at the opening weekend. So it already was much ahead. And then with this better second weekend and a better hold, it got way ahead. And now we've seen in the weeks since its second weekend as well.
Also, Elite Easy is back at Elite.
Yes, Elite Easy is elite with his name and profile changes. But I just wanted to kind of look at this article because I think the Hollywood Reporter is making a good point here. The second weekend is the new opening weekend, John. I want to pose a question to you because right now it seems like we're living in a time in a post-pandemic world where, while they say in this article, a handful of films this year have been pronounced box office winners based on their opening performance, like both Fantastic Four and Superman opened virtually identical at the domestic box office and very similar worldwide too, only to fall off a cliff in the case of Fantastic Four in their sophomore outing and then reveal their true fate. So should we, as this article stipulates or asks the question, be judging movies, especially, at least these big blockbusters like Marvel movies and even DC movies and other big franchises like Jurassic World and, F1 even, or like other movies of the ilk, should we judge them more so on their second weekend rather than declaring them a success simply if they open huge and on their first weekend? And do you think that's just the new reality, or this is just a case of like what we've been seeing recently and this is not always going to be true?
I think, that is a good question. I think it definitely seems like the case because I would say maybe it's not I wouldn't say the new opening weekend, but you have to look at both. Now, you can't just look at the opening anymore. You have to look at the first and second weekend because that's where you're going to get the biggest pull between both and not just the opening weekend because you're sure you're going to get the stands, the big fans, like, plenty of people that are going to come that first weekend, but, maybe people are busy or they want to wait because now they want to wait for okay, is this movie good? What's the deal? And because the thing is, the money, the economy, all that stuff. So it's like, is the movie good? Let me see before I waste like $60 on tickets and snacks to go see one movie. So good stuff. Seven is a fantastic film. So it's like, oh, let's see. And then it's like, okay, cool. It seems like a great movie. Let me go see it now. And then now that doesn't, sometimes that explains stuff, sometimes that kind of doesn't explain it for Fantastic Four, because that got a lot of acclaim. So, it's definitely an intriguing sort of thing. Maybe it's just like, the whole Superman and Jurassic World, sorry, really got to Fantastic Four before then, and then maybe that is the reason why it just didn't do as well, and it really got to them before they could do anything. But I don't know. I mean, word of mouth kind of helps, but I think word of mouth is kind of dead at this point. And because they just see critics and at least general audiences. I'm talking about general audiences, because remember, the fans are going to see. They're the guinea pigs. They're like, oh, I'm going to go see Superman because I love Superman and Superman is great, so I'm going to go see it. And then that also helps. That, well, doesn't help the movie, helps your argument. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So it's just, the streaming. We keep mentioning the streaming. It's just, we're gonna keep going with that argument over and over and over again, because that's we're gonna keep repeating that. Because that's really the problem. But it seems like the second weekend is definitely the case of, like, you got to look at it combined and not just that open weekend, because that's what's going to be that biggest pull. So that's all I have to say about that. It's possible also that Disney fans and Marvel fans in general were conditioned to wait till streaming from the previous CEO, and Iger is trying to clean up and fix that mentality. Possibly, but if that's the case, they're not doing a very good job, especially that the last 3 movies of theirs tanked. So, well, not tanked, but at least Thunderbolts and Brave New World were floppy. So
the word mid kind of says nothing. Okay, well, hi, figure drawing in the chat. Here's the thing, though. I think a lot of you guys are making good points. You really are. And I mean, everything, like whether it's coming to streaming too soon, the word of mouth not carrying, a lot of movies, a lot of these franchise movies, it's not a secret. People, the fans, all the big fans, like people watching the show here, you guys, us, we tend to go watch these movies right when they come out, on opening weekend, and if not like the opening weekend, then in the first 7 days of release, right? So we will go see it regardless of how good or bad it is. Then you have the fans who love the trailer and are excited to go see it. They will go see it on its opening weekend. And then when you get to the second weekend, what it really tells you is not just the word of mouth anymore. It also tells you, are people going to go watch it a second time or a third time? Bring other friends and family with them to go see it. And clearly, while the Rotten Tomato scores were great for both Fantastic Four and Superman, we have talked about in the past, John. There's a short on the channel, and Liz and I were talking about it recently. How much does rewatchability matter for these movies, right? These big blockbusters. Like, I've seen F1 more times than I've seen both Fantastic Four and Superman. To me, that says F1 is a better movie, because for me, I put the rewatchability factor really high up in terms of my judgment of a movie. And then while streaming obviously hurts the situation, like Superman's already streaming and James Gunn already contradicted himself, saying, oh yeah, I wanted people to see it before Peacemaker, but don't worry, you don't have to see it before Peacemaker. Then why did you release it early? It goes to show you he doesn't exactly control the fate of every window of release for Superman and the DC movies. So maybe James Gunn doesn't have as much power over at DC Studios. Maybe that was more of a Peter Safran decision, but who knows? As far as why second weekends I think are becoming more and more important, we're living in a world now, John, where movies struggle to get all the way to the $1 billion mark. Fewer movies are getting even past 500 million. Fewer movies are getting to $1 billion in general, and then like 800 million. There was an agent recently talking about it who has multiple actors who work in the MCU movies. they were saying that 800 million is a new $1 billion. And of course, Minecraft movie and Jurassic World have hit that mark. Lilo and Stitch has crossed the billion, but the only movie this year to do that. All of that to me says that movies lose momentum much faster because, you know, our cultural zeitgeist, like we cycle through things a lot quicker. Like we're living in a world now where 2-3 weeks in, people are talking about something else. Like it's rare that a movie sticks around in our brains and in the news cycle long enough to like matter at that scale. So you better make all your money up front, and that matters now more than ever. I mean, I think this effect has been exacerbated that not only do more people go watch these movies on opening weekend, but now because people are then just wait, if it's not to the level where they're like, I don't want to spend another $30 to go see it a second time, I'll just wait to see it on a streaming service I already pay for, or maybe I'll rent it at home for like a quarter or, you know, fraction of the cost, and I don't have to pay for multiple tickets. I think these are all factors that have added to exacerbate the problem, where now the second weekend does end up, you know, potentially telling us a lot more about the movie's ability to make money. We all, if you remember, John, we were all talking about great opening weekend. We'll see how good it does on second weekend, right? Let's see if it holds. We were all doing that for Superman. We all did that for Fantastic Four.
It's like that scene in Braveheart.
Yeah. And then for Superman, it dropped only 53%, as they say in this article. It made 58.5 million in its second weekend. And then you look at Fantastic Four, it dropped 67%, which was shocking, still is shocking, because the company it puts it in, I think, is with significantly lesser MCU films, and making 38.7 million. And now today, we've talked about it, you know, in this week, last week, the latest estimates show that Fantastic Four is probably going to finish a good $100 million behind Superman at the box office ultimately. Where Superman's going to cross 600 million, Fantastic Four will probably get to 500 million, maybe, but really that's about it, you know, it for it as far as it's going to go. And so for me, all of that has to come down to, there's some big picture things going on that are beyond the control of every singular movie. And then like the streaming thing, people's habits have changed. There's more competition. There's more streaming services than ever before. Movies are, you know, getting to streaming services faster. There's more video. I mean, there's just more things to do, right? And then also Fantastic Four in particular came out at a time where there were like 5 other big movies from earlier in the summer still doing well. Like you had Superman that had legs, F1 that had legs, Jurassic World had legs, Lilo and Stitch was still playing, might still be playing. So all these movies, you know, kind of took away some of that money. And then new releases like Naked Gun, Weapons doing well enough to like take the thunder away. Nobody 2 even. Anthony's saying, John and Dan, this is an honest question when it comes to the box office. Do you think fans overestimate the value of the international box office? I think so. Yeah, I do think they do. And I think that this is a good place to wrap up this topic before we move forward. But John, in general, like the domestic box office is a little more uniform in the sense that you're only talking about the American and Canadian markets. So the movie theater chains are largely the same. I mean, there are a couple of chains that don't overlap between Canada and the US, and there's a lot of mom and pop ones, but the majority of the screens are owned by like, you know, AMC, Regal, Cinemark, you know, these names and companies. So the deals that these distributors have with the studios are the same in terms of the percentage of the box office that they take, and then what the studio gets to keep. They're rather similar. Internationally, on the other hand, like for example, the rule of thumb is 60 to 70% of the box office is what goes to the studio. The rest is kept by the theaters. Internationally, that number fluctuates wildly because it will vary incredibly based on which country the movie is going to be playing in. In China, we know the studios get generally like 20-25% of the take. That's it. The rest of it goes to the government, the theater owners, and then you have the exchange rates and, you know, different countries, like, you know, if it's making $50 million in the UK, you know, pounds in the UK, that's going to equal a different amount in dollars than, you know, 50 million, I don't know, like francs or like not francs, like euros in France, for example, or like even beyond that, you go into
francs
like other parts of the
hasn't been a thing in years.
I know. I'm sorry. It's euros. Like I'm living in 1980s for some reason, but yeah. So okay. Yes, people do overestimate it. I think it was more of a thing pre-pandemic because the international box office became really big, and it still, you know, turns out for some movies like Avatar made like almost $2 billion. I think the first one made like the majority of its money, like $2 billion or something like that internationally alone. Even the last one made more than half of its money internationally. Top Gun Maverick kind of split almost in half. Mm-hmm. Wonder Woman The first Wonder Woman movie made like half of its money internationally and 400 million domestically. So it's still possible. It just happens less and less. But there are franchises like the Fast and Furious franchise is now primarily driven by international audiences, as well as the Jurassic World franchises. Yes, not intended, but yes.
And I was saying this before, how technically the only two movies that have made $2 billion post pandemic is Way of Water, which we know for the most part probably got that amount of money, and then Neja 2, which is magically the only animated movie to make $2 billion just from China alone. Yeah, okay, I totally 100% believe that. Yeah, and some guy just ate a bat. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then as far as the question about why would China fudge their numbers, because it's not so much that they fudge their numbers necessarily. I mean, they might. It's just they don't go through the same verification.
Let's go with embellish.
They don't go through the same verification process like that every other country does. They submit their numbers and it gets verified, and you get multiple sources, and then you have these organizations, kind of like. It's almost like when you check your credit score, there's 3 different bureaus that give you a credit score. With movie box office numbers, there's multiple companies, including a couple of big ones, that verify these numbers coming from all the different theaters that report their sales on how many tickets they sold for Superman, Fantastic Four. China doesn't really play by the same rules as every other country. So it's not so much that we're blaming them for like fudging the numbers. It's more a matter of it's harder to trust because they're not verified by independent parties like every other country's box office is. Barbie did do really well internationally. I think that's also to do with the fact that Barbie was a really well-made, popular movie, and it like I said, there seem to be more rare exceptions nowadays, though, and the superhero genre just isn't as much of a guarantee, and that's why I think it's a good point, maybe for at least these big franchise movies. It's the second weekend, and for some movies like Avatar movies never open to $100 million or more. But they have incredible legs. The first Aquaman movie did the same thing. So second weekend does matter a lot more now than first weekend, because it seems like with first weekend you might get a false sense of like a victory, if you will, or like, yeah, it's great if you want to have a good 100 million plus opening weekend, celebrate it. But the longevity of a movie at the box office ultimately matters more in the long run. So guys, let us know in the comments down below what you think about that. Of course, we will continue this conversation. We always do. Like Neja 2, good movie. Again, can't trust the box office too much because again, this is not verified. Those numbers coming out of China. But yeah, and yes, exactly, Anthony, agreed. Every other country outside of China, they are registered into that major company that tracks the box office numbers. So that's the big reason why. All right. Well, with that, guys, we're gonna move on to the next topic. Of course, we have a bunch more to get into. And speaking of weapons, Movie Spud kind of like walking us into our next topic. A movie like Weapons had a great second weekend due to great critical ratings, word of mouth, YouTube videos raving about it, basically reviews, no new superhero films or other blockbusters for competition. It ran right over Nobody 2 and its opening weekend. But hey, speaking of Weapons, John, let's talk about it because Weapons is a box office hit, like Movie Spud was just mentioning. But now as Weapons is sort of entering its second and third weekend, you get into a time of year like where it's looking a bit bleak, John. It's gonna be a bit of a barren wasteland at the fall box office. I'm not saying there's nothing good coming out. Like right off the top of the show, we were talking about The Long Walk. There's a few other movies coming out, but up until we get to like October, November, when we are like into the winter months, the next little while, especially until we get to like November, we're looking at like a bleak 3 months, like they point out in Variety. There's not a lot of new product for the movie theaters to play. So here in this article, they point out from Alamo Drafthouse's chief revenue officer, Mike Sherrill, saying, we joke that weekday business gets soft because parents have to think about buying their kids a new backpack. But studios must have the same thought because the calendar from August through early October is always sparse, at least compared to with the glut of new offerings in June and July. So my question to you would be, John, there's not a lot of big tentpoles coming out the next little while. We have looked at this calendar behind the scenes. And while we will be reviewing a lot of movies, none of them seem to be of the ilk of Fantastic Four, F1, Superman, Jurassic World, Lilo and Stitch. Do you think this is just the new norm now because studios are making fewer movies every year and there's more streaming options, or do you think this is yet another one of those years where we're still feeling the effects of the pandemic and maybe these months will start to get more filled up again in the years to come?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're still feeling those effects, and we need to like kind of try to account for that. Um, because it just seems like that they aren't. I mean, some are, some aren't in terms of studios, in terms of some filmmakers. But I think we are just in this weird place. And yeah, honestly, we're with not having a lot of big hits, like maybe Superman will like still make some good numbers with all of that, because it's probably going to be in theaters through September. And that's also probably additionally why Deadpool and Wolverine did so well, is because it made a lot of its money in those sparse months. So yeah, I mean, we're going to be it's funny because on my channel with my friends, the cool kids, we don't have a ton of reviews for September and October. Like maybe we have like three each, which is like we usually have like four or maybe five each. But in those and one of them is a TV show where we're reviewing Alien Earth once all the episodes come out. So it's like it's really two movie reviews. And then, in October, we're doing three. And then in the month of November, there are 6 reviews that we're doing. So it just goes to show how we don't have a ton of stuff for like September and October. And then for November is just coming in like a freight train and just being like, we have 6 huge movies that we're going to be reviewing. Now, I'm not saying that's for like everything, but it shows that this is like we're getting ready for the dry months. And we're going to be, and the studios are getting ready for that, and it's going to be a dry month. So that's just how it be. But yeah, it's like we have like Long Walk and like One Battle After Another, but those aren't exactly huge tentpole hits, now are they? And then we have like we're going to be reviewing The Smashing Machine and Black Phone 2 and Mortal Kombat 2, but those aren't like huge. And then like you have like just big stuff in November, just big huge movies coming out. So yeah, it's just got to prepare for these dry months. Do you guys know people who have soured from theaters? Yeah,
I personally
I've
know
seen
people who don't go to movie theaters as much.
Yeah,
You know,
there's
yeah.
mainly of a friend of a friend. He rarely goes to the theater anymore because he's like, I gotta save money, and he's like, I can wait till streaming because he's like, I'll see Superman, I'll see Fantastic Four, but I'm not gonna see The Long Walk in a theater. So
Yeah, but I mean, I was gonna say, I know MGG, you're saying Weapons should have come out in October. I think Weapons came out at the right time because it's made 150 million in just 10 days and now more. So I think Weapons did the right thing when it came out when it did. The question becomes, I think we the last few years have been talking about is the strikes, the pandemic. There's not as many movies out because they're a bit delayed. There was also like survive till 2025, which was like all these studios that were struggling. Get to 2025, people will be back in theaters. There'll be more money to be made. But yet, here we are. I mean, the Toxic Avengers is not going to be a big movie. The Roses is going to draw an audience because you've got a great cast, and it's based on a very likable book, a popular book, I should say. Jaws making its anniversary return, Caught Stealing, which looks good, but probably not going to make a ton of money. And you have a lot of festivals. This is the time of the year where there's a lot of movie festivals. So that if you're a film nerd, you can go to, whether it's Toronto or New York. There's a number of different festivals going on. The Conjuring Last Rites, again, it's going to have the horror crowd, but you got Hamilton re-releasing, Splitsville, Code 3, Downton Abbey coming out in September. But again, none of these movies are like mainstream huge. Even The Long Walk won't get a ton of people going to it in the sense that it's not going to make $100 million. But like you said, guys, between the re-releases, whether it's The Sound of Music, Toy Story, and some of these movies potentially could break out. Like I think A Big Bold Beautiful Journey could potentially be really good. Unfortunately, it's not the kind of movie that draws the biggest audiences these days, right? So we have a lot of like movies that are basically rom-coms, dramedies, and whether they're like early award contenders, whatever you want to call them. And when it comes to movies like Weapons, which Weapons broke out, I think, because it came out in the summer months. I think they did the right job by making it, releasing it where they did. So And as far as Caught Stealing goes, Movie Spud, it's probably going to make like 15-20 million at most opening weekend. If it finishes out anywhere around 100 million or more, I'd be surprised, and I think that'd be a great number for it. It just doesn't feel like one of those movies that's going to be a big hit. It's just the box office today only supports movies that are either really big or, you know, that are made for like a shoestring budget that can make enough money to make their money back. It's just, you've talked about it. One of the things that the pandemic and the new release strategy for studios, what it's killed is like this mid-budget movies. There's not as many of them because not as many of them stand to make the kind of money they need to be profitable. So, but yeah, I mean, there are movies
I fucking
coming
refuse
out.
to see Caught Stealing. Every movie I have seen that's not a kid's movie, I get the fucking trailer for Caught Stealing. Yeah, Darren Aronofsky, you're making me hate The Clash. Why are you making me hate The Clash? Fuck you, man, for making me hate The Clash. And Austin Butler's stupid face. Fuck you, man. Now I'm not going to see your shitty ass movie because I've seen the trailer so many goddamn times. Not seeing it. Get the hell out of here. And then
Mortal Kombat comes out in October. That's why I think Weapons, like, that's a great reason, Antonio. It just kind of clears the path. As far as Conjuring goes, that seems to be the last one in the franchise. James Wan is no longer there at New Line, so it makes sense. And it looks like, you know, the actors Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson are finally tired of playing those characters. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because, again, can Warner Brothers continue their streak even with, you know, other horror franchises like Final Destination? They managed to do a lot better than people were expecting. So, like you guys said, there will be some breakouts, but it is still looking pretty dry. You know, it's looking a little bleak. Coming up later this month, next month, basically until October. It looks like there's not a ton of big movies coming out, but we'll see. Of course, we'll be talking about them week to week. You guys let us know what movies are you excited about for the next couple of months till October, and then we get into November, and you know we have like, you know, Tron, Ares, and you got, you know, other big ones like potentially, like you guys said, Mortal Kombat 2. We'll be talking about that later in the show. But hey, let us know what movies are you excited to go see in a movie theater in the next couple of months. It's not nearly as packed as the summer months were, which is usually the case, but it looks particularly barren. So will you be going to the, you know, box office, well, to the movie theater near you as often as you did the last few weeks? Let us know in the comments down below. All right, so now the last news story that we have before we move into the quick hits. This is something that actually kind of surprised me, but we have talked about it before. We talked about how ESPN is launching their own standalone streaming service app. Fox is launching it as well. They're launching their own Fox One. You're going to have ESPN and Fox One, and then you can even get them in a bundle for $50 a month. And both of them individually will cost you $30 each. And one of the big acquisitions ESPN did to support their new, you know, service, which is going to have NFL games and everything on there, they also got the US rights to all of the WWE premium live events, which were, as of right now, there still are being carried by Peacock. Now, Peacock we were initially under the impression they were going to continue to carry those events till March of 2026, which is when the deal expires. But as it turns out, ESPN is going to be starting to carry the live events, those premium live events that used to be called pay-per-views, starting in September, a lot sooner than expected. And in this Hollywood Reporter article, it's sort of like the way they describe it kind of sounds like a bit of a trade was done in the background in sports terms, because WWE went to Peacock and said, hey, we would like to, you know, have premium live events available on this new ESPN app starting a bit sooner. What can we do with you guys to make it happen? And so Peacock agreed to it, but, you know, in exchange for some other programming they'll get to carry. So here's a bit of detail. I promise I won't take too long because I don't think a lot of you guys are fans here watching live, but it looks like the first live event, WWE is going to have the first premium live event on the new ESPN app, I should say, is this event called WrestlePalooza, which is like a new event that I'm sure it's meant to introduce, you know, ESPN audiences to the WWE product if they aren't already fans or know about it, which I'm sure there's some, but I guess. And it's going to be in Indianapolis. It's going to be taking place at one of the football venues. It's not taking place where the Colts play. I think it's the other venue, but anyway, the point is that's going to be the first event, and then you still have Survivor Series and Crown Jewel and a few events like that. Peacock will carry their last PLE event now. It's going to be the Clash. I think it's Clash at Paris, or it's the next Clash event that they're going to carry, which will be the last one. So now, in exchange for Peacock giving up, you know, the access to the PLEs a bit early, they will get to carry some additional WWE programming, including the NXT, the WWE like minor leagues, pay-per-views and PLEs until March 2026, as well as they'll continue to carry more of the WWE archive content until then. And then beyond March 2026, they'll have SmackDown airing a week behind because that still airs on USA Network. So the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, all those big events will end up on ESPN. Monday Night Raw is now on Netflix. So this was surprising because now when ESPN launches its app in literally hours from now, if you're watching live even, it's August 21st, they're entering a new era where what they're doing here, they think is going to save their company, bringing a direct-to-consumer app where you don't have to subscribe to ESPN on cable anymore. You'll get everything ESPN on this new ESPN app. I think they're calling it ESPN Plus, which is a little confusing because there's already an ESPN Plus, but this new ESPN Plus is a lot more than the previous one. They have big hopes for this service, and now they'll have a first WWE event in September. Of course, Peacock still will carry the Saturday night's main events, 4 of them a year, including John Cena's retirement match on December 13th. And that's also for John Cena's, one of his last dates is September 20th on WrestlePalooza. So he's front and center on both of the platforms for the next little while. But hey, the ESPN put a story out about this. And then, John, I think you will get a crack out of this part. They've finally got a mascot for ESPN. They're calling it Appy because it's their new and first ever mascot. It's literally the app logo, the icon, and the mascot is just out there promoting the new app, which is just probably some intern's bright idea in marketing. So there you go.
Hey,
yeah. Oh, Clash of the Castle.
And honestly, it looks like Kevin Feige a little
Paris.
bit. That face and the hat, it looks like Kevin Feige a little bit.
Does it? Yeah, but with the hat, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see where all of that WWE library will go beyond March 2026. Maybe Peacock is negotiating another deal. I think they did get an extension on a few other things. So it looks like Peacock will continue to carry more WWE stuff, but the big events will be moving to ESPN starting on day 1 of the new app, which launches pretty much literally as we speak. So the last event that Peacock will carry, the last pay-per-view PLE event, is Clash at the Castle in Paris on August 31st, which is the same weekend as F1 comes back from his summer break. This does look like an old maxi pack. It's a weird little situation there. A dingy bar of soap. I don't know if this was the best idea, but I'm sure this was only something they did for the consumer press event. So be that as it may, John, are you somebody or do you know someone who might be getting this new ESPN app? $30 a month, you get everything ESPN, all their live networks and everything, literally replacing. You don't need to have ESPN on cable anymore if you have this app, because it will give you all the same stuff. Not like it's going to be restricted, like, oh, you have to have a cable subscription to watch NFL games. Everything is on there, including now these WWE events, and of course you can also bundle it with Fox for $50, Fox One, which will give you all the the World Cup coming up next year with FIFA and everything else that the Fox carries too. Would you have any interest in these?
No.
Oh, and TNA might be getting a new owner too. I heard that there might be a sale in the works and the new TV deal, Antonio. So yeah, if you're a fan of wrestling, right, it's a good time to be a fan. And they will be actually bundling it, Elite Easy, with Hulu and Disney Plus. So there is a bundle on offer now. I don't think the pricing is available yet. I might be wrong about that. You let me know. But there is going to be a bundle where you can still get the new ESPN with the other 2 Disney apps like Disney Plus and Hulu. So yeah, and then that there is a WWE event coming up that's happening on the same day as the AEW event. So it's gonna be interesting. But the mascot does look lame. Anyway, guys, let us know in the comments down below. Are you excited to see WWE on ESPN a lot sooner than we expected? September 20th, WrestlePalooza, headlined by John Cena, of course, and then John Cena will have his retirement match still on Peacock on Saturday night's main event in middle of December 13th, I believe it was. Let us know which ones of those events will you be watching. Are you okay with the idea of now having to subscribe to ESPN for $30 a month to get all the big pay-per-views? And then you still could have Peacock for all the older stuff. And now you also need Netflix to watch Raw and then have cable, USA Network to watch SmackDown. It's all over the place. It's a lot more expensive than it used to be. So we'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, hit the like button because, we do appreciate that. And with that, John, now we move into the more fun part of the news show. And these we just colloquially like to call quick hits, because while we like to talk about them, we don't like to talk about them a ton. Hunter Iggy, do you think TNA and WWE will still join forces with TNA? Oh, and the logic behind that question doesn't make a ton of sense, but yeah, they already are working together, TNA and WWE. So I don't know if they're going to join forces with AEW, if that's what you were implying. Yeah, they should have kept the WWE network. Sure, it would have made things simpler for us, but it would have been making them a lot less money. So that's the reason why. It's all about the money, guys. It's follow the money, as they say. Yeah. There's not going to be a sale. Stellan Asper is not selling, but that deal. Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe they'll just have a new TV deal, Antonio. All right. Well, as Enterprising is saying, quickies away. So let's do that, shall we, John? Can you find the music for us? I'm going to see if I can get us into the quickets, shall we? There we go. All right, let's dive into it then. So, John, the other day we talked about there was our first photo battle of Mortal Kombat, or not Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. But now we have another photo from Street Fighter. This time Noah Centineo, his costume as Ken Masters, and you actually kind of get to see him in these photos, Sean. There you see him standing off to the side. He's got the hair. I can't tell if this is something they're actually filming or if he's just standing off to the side weirdly, but he looks sort of the part. I don't know how excited you are about this. What do you think? Between this and the Cody Rhodes first look?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. Like, either this is going to be the greatest yet campiest movie of all time, or it's going to be just straight dog shit. So we'll see. It looks interesting is all I'll say. I'm not convinced, but I don't need this movie to be the best thing ever for it to work for me. Hollywood Reporter.
God, Hollywood Reporter. I hate Hollywood Reporter's new thing. It's like the ads are actually on, but they seem to think they're not, and nobody's told them yet how to fix this problem. But basically, the story is remember K-pop Demon Hunters, John? How wildly successful and popular it is on Netflix? Well, we've also talked about how they're putting it in a movie theaters for a limited release now because of how popular it is. They're hosting a 2-day special event in North America over August 22nd to 24th weekend. Netflix is that, and they're putting it in 1,700 cinemas, of which 1,000 shows have already sold out, John. The screenings, the sing-along screenings, will also play in theaters in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. But your thoughts on this? Because
don't care.
They've already sold a majority of these screenings.
I don't care.
I mean, do you think they should have put this on the big screen to begin with, or maybe give it a bigger release? Because there's a lot of money to be made here, clearly.
I don't care. I don't fucking care about this fucking movie.
All right, cool. Tight. But yeah, the UFC is going to Paramount Plus, and they're no longer at pay-per-views, which makes it a much better deal than having to pay $60 each time for a pay-per-view, and then also having UFC on ESPN as it used to be. But anyway, yeah, NPG would not be watching that K-pop. Well, K-pop Demon Hunters is popular. In fact, one of the songs is like at the very top of the charts now, so it's like good on you. Emily in Paris, John, is heading to Venice. So is it Emily in Italy? Season 5 has now got a release date, of course, and we've got a first
How
look.
the fuck did this thing last for 5 seasons? Like, literally, a Karen
December
who hates
18th.
culture
Lily Collins
is a show.
back.
Like, this is a show where it's like a Karen is like gets her own show. Like, that's what this is. Like, I remember I was watching this guy who is an actual French person who watched the show, and he's like, yeah, this is like one of the most offensive things I've ever seen in my life, and it doesn't take a lot to offend me. And he's like, yeah, this is essentially an American Karen not caring about the fucking place she lives in and just acting like a dumb shit American. And yeah, that's the show. And somehow it's been nominated for awards, and people and Netflix keeps it going because it's garbage, because they keep the garbage and get rid of the good stuff.
I mean, look, it's popular, right? Like, you gotta, it's as a business, you don't, it's like literally, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So don't cancel it, aka. And season 5 is going to Italy, so not even in France anymore. So I don't know, they should call it Emily in Venice or something like that. But by the way, I think you're talking about, Tony, the voice cast of K-pop Demon Hunter, which, yes, we have talked about that before. But anywho, moving on to the next thing. Super Troopers 3 has started filming as Brian Cox, Chase Crawford, and more have joined the Broken Lizard cast. Marissa Collin, Nat Faxon, and Andrew Dismukes, or I don't know how to say his last name, have also joined the film from director J. Chandrasekhar. John, are you excited for Super Troopers 3?
I have not seen the first two, so this does nothing for me.
Cool. Can the Street Fighter movie be any worse than the Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, the disaster movie? We don't know yet, but I can't imagine it could.
I can't imagine. Sorry.
We'll see.
I can't imagine they'll get a better M. Bison than Raul Julia. Like that's the only good part about that movie.
Well, hey John. Speaking of British actors, we had a whole series of British related stories because some of the best TV shows come out of that part of the world. Looks like Hayley Atwell and Rupert Everett, two of the big stars from across the pond, have joined Rivals season 2 cast on Disney Plus as legendary Jilly Cooper characters. Atwell will be starring as Helen Gordon, Rupert Campbell Black's ex-wife, and Everett is joining as the show jumping coach Melise Gordon. John, of course, Hayley Atwell was most recently in those Mission Impossible movies. Rupert Everett is a well-known actor. He's been doing a lot of stuff over the years. What do you think about them joining Rivals on Disney Plus?
I have no fucking clue what Rivals even is, but I'm happy that actors are getting work.
It's like a sports drama, basically.
Okay, I don't care.
Cool. All right, moving on. Dominic West and Sienna Miller have now joined up to lead the Sky and HBO legal thriller War. And what's most exciting to me about this is that this is coming from the Hijack creator, the Hijack show on Apple TV Plus creator George Kay. It's set in the elite
what's
world
Hijack
of London
again?
law. It's the show with Idris Elba where he's like on this plane and gets hijacked, and he's a negotiator, like a professional negotiator, and he has to like a hostage negotiator, I think, and then he has to like help resolve the issue, and help unhijack the plane. Anyway, you should check it out.
Never heard of it. I'm sorry.
Go check it out. I think there's meant to be a second season. But anyway, this show is set in the elite world of London law. The show gets a 2-season commitment already from Sky and HBO, with Dominic West starring as a tech titan Morgan Henderson and Miller. Sienna Miller as his estranged wife, international film star Carla Duval, whatever. No, you did not, Aiko Rich. We're getting to the Superman saga after the quick hits, so do stick around. But John, your thoughts on this? Would you be watching?
I mean,
more?
I don't know anything. I mean, Dominic West is a pretty good actor. I don't know anything about George Kay. I think I've heard the name Sienna Miller.
You haven't seen her in anything before? Okay, so go ahead.
Sienna Miller. The name sounds familiar. Her face kind of looks familiar.
I feel like she was in that Kevin Costner Western movie that flopped, right? What was the?
Oh yeah, American Horizon. Yeah, I definitely saw that. Yeah. But I mean, it could be good. I don't really have a ton of interest. I'm not really into like legal shows. Like I never got into like Law and Order or anything like that. So it could be good, but
Yeah. Anyway. Moving on to the next thing, we got Gabriel Basso, who you might know from, of course, The Night Agent on Netflix. He's now joined up with Margaret Qualley in the romantic drama Love of Your Life. Aaron Pierre, one of the New Lanterns, and Patrick Schwarzenegger are already on the call sheet for the emotional drama, John. Those 4 names all joining forces. Would you want to watch this movie? No? Okay, you have nothing to say to that. So we're going to move on to the next thing. BTS, John, have now announced, they're confirmed that a global movie weeks event is coming up in September. They're bringing their legendary live performances back to the big screen this fall with the BTS Movie Weeks, a 2-week theatrical event that will see 4 of the group's most celebrated concert films screened in over 2,000 theaters across 65 plus territories. The event is being presented by Trafalgar Releasing in partnership with HYBE. Aren't you the biggest fan who's going to go check these out in the theater, John? No? All right, cool. Well, BTS is cute, but Elite Easy would rather stream them from home. I have no idea if John can still hear me or not, but we're going to keep on rolling. Doug Urbanski may have found the next project to keep Gary Oldman from retiring. This was actually really interesting because the crux of this article, I'll kind of like TLDR it for you guys, because he talks about a lot of the relationship that the creator has with Gary Oldman, with an 8th season already in the works. Ultimately, he kind of almost gives it away, because the last time we heard the news was they have greenlit 7 seasons, but they shoot these seasons back to back. There's 6 episodes apiece, which kind of explains why they come out with these seasons so quickly. There was no confirmation. There hasn't been a confirmation that there will be an 8th season, but apparently it looks like we're getting, potentially an 8th season, because if they greenlit at 7th, it sort of implied they greenlit an 8th. So, John, are you excited for the Slow Horses coming up with potentially as many?
I don't
as 8
watch
seasons?
it. My parents watch it. They say it's excellent, so I'm happy for them. Yeah, I mean, Sir Gary Oldman, great work. Also, I just heard Thunderclap, so if I ever go out during the rest of the live show, you'll know why. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. By the way, a really fun part of this, they kind of talked about, the creator of the show talked about how Slow Horses came together, because Gary Oldman was like, I'm gonna retire. Like, I've done what I need to do. I've played villains. I've played heroes. I don't want to be in a costume and prosthetics anymore. Find me something that's in the spy genre, preferably, where I don't have to do all those things. And he wanted to do basically a follow-up to Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but the author of the state of the author of those books didn't want Gary Oldman back in the role. So then the EP of the Slow Horses, ultimately he went over and was like, well, maybe we can try this instead. This is also, of course, Slow Horses is based on a series of books. And here Gary Oldman just gets to basically be himself for the most part. He doesn't need to put on all these prosthetics or anything like that. And that's kept Gary Oldman from retiring. So I'm actually kind of glad, because if Slow Horses is all that's keeping Gary from, one of the greatest actors of his generation, from no longer being in any TV shows or movies, then I am so glad we're getting maybe as many as 8 seasons of Slow Horses. So yes, sir, Gary Oldman. Tony, you're right. Absolutely. Moving on to the next thing. Jason Bateman and Jude Law running from Loan Sharks and high octane Black Rabbit trailer, which is a new Netflix limited series, seeing the actors and executive producers of this. They're both working, as the executive producers as well as starring in the show. They're playing very different yet both dysfunctional brothers in New York City. I watched this trailer, John, and it's nothing groundbreaking, but it definitely is like, if you are a fan of Jason Bateman from Ozark, it's right in that same
this looks
vein of things.
Interesting, and I straight up did not recognize the two of them at first. I'm like, for a sec, I thought that was William Hurt, and I'm like, he's dead, so that doesn't make sense. But like,
really, I thought it would have been like Ewan McGregor on the left.
I was like, because the thing is, it doesn't help. I have my camera in front of Jude's face right now, so like, I didn't see it, but his like eyes are so, because it's just that Jude Law is hot. So like seeing him as like gross and weird and like kind of average looking, I'm like, oh, that's not him. And then Jason Bateman, I've never seen him with long hair before. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, that's Christian Bale. And then I'm like, no, wait, no, that's Jason Bateman. I was trying to put my finger on him. Like, who does that look like? I'm like, Christian Bale. That's who it is. But yeah, this looks interesting.
It does look. The trailer looks fun. There's definitely a lot of like jabs and some like comedic moments in it. It's gonna be fun. It's if you are missing your weekly Ozark dosage, then Jason Bateman's back doing something similar with Black Rabbit. It looks fun. All right, and Deadline does not want us to have any more fun, so I'm gonna have to refresh that page. But Neve Campbell and Kevin Williamson have now agreed that Scream 7, it should be a time to reset the franchise back to Wes Craven's suspense era. John, your thoughts on the idea they've agreed that they want to go back to a bit more of the roots of the franchise, Neve Campbell coming back?
I hope so. I mean, I'm still not going to watch it because like Scream 5 was so bad, it permanently turned me off to the franchise. Maybe Kevin Williamson can bring it back, but I just can't. Like, even with him and Neve Campbell coming back and all this other stuff, I just can't. Like, I was never a huge Scream fan to begin with. I thought all of the first 3 movies were fine. I saw the 4th one in preparation for the 5th one, and I was surprised with how great that was. And that's probably my favorite of all of them. And Scream 5 was that was bad. That was pretty bad. So I refuse to watch Scream 6. I refuse to watch this. I mean, I hope people will like what they're doing and we get better movies out of it. I mean, Kevin Williamson directing is certainly interesting. He hasn't directed anything since like the 90s, and there was one movie and it was not very good. So obviously we'll see, but I think
I'm wanting Black Rabbits. Anyway.
He's Bateman. Cool. Yes, that is true. Why would you have Bateman instead of Batman? Anyway,
it's that commercial is.
It's better than most Batman movies.
Not true, but cool. Okay. Well, at least we did the Black Man. I was gonna say Black Man again. Batman. We did a Black.
You're thinking of Lucius Fox.
Yeah, maybe. We did a Batman tier list for the Batman movies yesterday. You guys are welcome to go back and check that out. But John, speaking of going back and checking it out, Orlando Bloom's hopes that the Pirates of the Caribbean gets the band back together, gets everybody back, as he said, for the new film, and he's saying that's the way to win. Would you like to see Keira Knightley or Orlando Bloom and, of course, Johnny Depp reunite potentially for a new overhaul of the franchise? Of course, he played Will Turner in the movies. I don't think we've seen him in a long time. Didn't he come back in the last one? But that didn't do really well. So, I mean, he was saying, look, everything is in the writing. You know, like that's what it's about. And he hopes to see everybody back. What are your thoughts on the idea of Johnny Depp and, of course, basically Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley, the original trio, returning and reuniting? Would the nostalgia alone sell it for you or no?
Just here's the thing. If they can do it, I would say I've only seen the first one, and I really enjoyed the first one. I've heard the second one is really good, and the third one's kind of disappointing. But like, I'm honestly might rewatch them, not 4 and 5, because I heard those were not good. It's just like, because as long as Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow remains a supporting character, because he was never supposed to be the main character, Will and Elizabeth were. They are the main characters of the franchise. So if you bring them back and have them be the main characters, then that can work. Then just declare 4 and 5 non-canon. They were bad fan fiction. They were dreams. It was all a dream. It was all a dream. Anyway.
But that's when they made him the main character. That's when
that's why they failed, because they're like, their story is done. I don't know how you could bring that back, but obviously we'll see. But maybe just keep things like, clearly 4 and 5 killed it, so just leave it be.
I thought 4 was still good. 5, I think, was really the only one that I didn't enjoy. But yeah, and then I mean, Johnny Depp can use a hit like that. It's just a matter of if Disney at the studio level wants to get involved with the Johnny Depp again. But I know a lot of fans would want to see him back as Captain Jack Sparrow. He's one of the most memorable, movie characters of the past couple of decades. Orlando Bloom also, making a bit of a comeback. He had the TV show on Amazon Prime that I think recently came to an end with Cara Delevingne. And then, of course,
somehow Johnny Depp returned.
Well, I mean, he's been doing stuff recently, and
no, I know. So I wish the best for him, but we'll see.
I personally would love to get the original trio back together. I think that movie would have $1 billion potential at the box office, because simply it's the freaking Pirates of the Caribbean with the original cast, and man, get Captain Barbossa in there somehow, maybe make it a reboot or something. Well, the fourth movie was not a flop. The fourth movie was, I think, almost $1 billion film. So yeah, but we'll see if this actually happens or not. This is just, Orlando Bloom sort of opining for something. But it's also a matter of, do you start from scratch or do you continue the story? Because I would imagine this will be more of like a requel, if anything, than a proper reboot. Well, we'll see if Disney's interested in that or not. But hey, you know what, John? We do know HBO is interested in keeping Lon LaFranc around, because they just gave the Penguin creator an overall deal over at HBO, and she has now launched Acid and Tender Productions, her new production banner. So it looks like Lon LaFranc will be staying over in the house that, house of HBO, I should say. I was going to say the house HBO built, but that's besides the point. Do you think this actually implies she's doing more stuff in the DC hemisphere, or is she doing other things now that the Penguin has done?
Anything she fucking wants to. Give her the world. She deserves it. There you go.
There you go. She does. Absolutely. I mean, look, the
Jinx,
Penguin,
show me a kiss on the lips. What?
The Penguin is probably the best thing DC has done on TV, and Lon LaFranc, I think, played a big part of it. Matt Reeves gives her credit for pitching her version of the Penguin show and really just kind of trusting her enough to be like, you take it and run with this. And she did. And she might have an Emmy or two in a few weeks' time. So there you go. But hey, Kristen Dunst, on the other hand, John, remember how we were talking about $1 billion movies? Well, Minecraft didn't quite get there, but it was certainly almost $1 billion film. And Kristen Dunst now wants in on the franchise, saying that she'd potentially want to be in a Minecraft movie sequel or a movie where I don't lose money. I think what she implies by that is she's had a lot of movies that have been, very prestige level, award worthy films, but the Oscar nominee hasn't really done much of late where, they're big box office successes. Do you think this is just her openly petitioning to be a part of a big franchise?
You know what? Gotta pay the bills. Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, she hasn't done
Maybe
that.
she'll be
since,
part of it.
I
Maybe
guess,
she'll do
this-
another
this
Cape
Spider-Man
Shit
trilogy.
franchise.
So.
You know, maybe she'll do another Cape Shit franchise. Let's fucking go for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Yeah, Jordan, we did talk about. Actually, we've talked about that before too. But yeah, Peacemaker is amazing. I agree. I just hope that Lauren LaFranc gets to do more DC stuff. Clearly, she's very good at it. So it's just a matter of what opportunities are out there. Now, speaking of the business of Hollywood, John, a couple of pieces of news.
If
that were
Hallmark couldn't get any worse.
Hallmark has now eliminated 30 jobs, saying we're taking steps to transition our workforce to meet our needs of business today. Basically, it looks like, you know, these cable networks that they were built around, you know, making TV shows, that business model is not quite what it used to be. So Hallmark is downsizing accordingly. Lifetime also cutting back on unscripted programming, laying off most of that department. The cable channel will now focus on its original movie business going forward. Actually, I know quite a few people who have worked on a lot of Lifetime and Hallmark movies. There's a pretty big setup for that over in Connecticut, actually. So yeah, but it looks like they won't be doing a ton more reality shows like the Chrisleys Back to Reality and other stuff that they had. John, your thoughts on this? Again, it's never a good thing that when people are losing their jobs, but it's reflective of the time we live in, it seems like.
Yeah, that's just how it be.
Yeah. Well, with that, actually, speaking of AI, Elite EZ, that story was not AI related, but this next one is. AI has become apparently the new secret weapon in talent negotiations. This, you know, the sentiment being that the data doesn't lie. This, of course, you see here is Priyanka Chopra. She is in that new Heads of State movie. Apparently, her representatives, her representation, including her manager, her talent manager, they use Chat GPT and Grok to do some analysis on the viewership data around the Heads of State movie on Amazon, and found out that most people's interest in the movie comes not from John Cena and Idris Elba, the two stars of the movie, like the two lead, like, you know, they're basically on the poster up front and center, but from Priyanka Chopra, who, while she is a big part of the film, she's not one of the big leads up front and center.
Yeah, because she's fucking hot as shit. Of course, all the fucking straight dudes are watching this chick. She's fucking hot. Like, it's nice to look at. Like, why is that a shock? I didn't need ChatGPT and Gronk or whatever the fuck it's called to tell me that. Like, hello, McFly. Like, really? Oh my god, hot actress brings in the views. Wow.
Well,
crazy.
I think you got to also remember Amazon Prime has a huge presence internationally, and Priyanka Chopra is one of the biggest stars to come out of Bollywood. Like, she's got a huge following. She's still doing some Indian movies, you know, here and there. So I'm not surprised that she's the bigger star, you know, ahead of both John Cena and Idris Elba. I've been watching her movies for a couple of decades now, well before she showed up in Hollywood, and she's one of the better actresses, you know, still is, and obviously, like you said, a beautiful woman in her own right. And,
no, they have eyeballs.
Well,
they're looking at your search history and all that shit, so careful of that.
Yeah, and now Amazon Prime can call Heads of State its 4th most watched movie of all time. And it looks like maybe in the future, when Priyanka Chopra's representation is negotiating a deal, they'll point to the data saying, hey, look, Heads of State became your 4th highest watched movie primarily because people wanted to see our client in the film. So we'll see if that turns out to be true for other actors looking to get sweet deals when they're signing up for new movie franchises. But hey, the AMAs, John, the American Music Awards, have now signed an extension, a new 5-year deal to stay with their current broadcaster CBS. The 2025 telecast hit a multi-year ratings high. I know you're not necessarily the biggest country music fan, but I mean, hey, look, as far as award shows go, this is still one of the bigger ones of the year, and CBS gets to keep it under the new regime that's flashing the cash, and they did so here with the AMAs as well. What do you think?
Congrats.
All right, cool. Moving on to the next thing, and this is the last quick hit. This is kind of weird. I had to kind of read this and figure out what the hell this all meant, but basically it was National Radio Day recently, and Mission Impossible, you know, decided to troll the fans with a full movie on YouTube live stream, where there was a bit of a twist though, because if you clicked on, basically they were playing the movie's entire script in Morse code to celebrate National Radio Day, and then now if you want to go back and watch the live stream in, you know, in VOD mode, it's actually, you know, made private. So you can click through the link in the article, but you won't be able to, you know, listen to the script of the movie in Morse code. What do you think about this stunt?
Fucking stupid, but hey.
A bit of a, you know, bait
we're
and
talking
switch,
about it,
as it were. So yeah, the script in Morse code, it's so stupid. There's a reason why this is the last quick hit. By the way, NBC or ABC getting the Grammys would be great. Doesn't ABC already have the Grammys, or is it on one of the streaming services? I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I don't know if you guys clicked through with this link and were disappointed that they actually Tom Cruise didn't give you the full movie for free on YouTube. I mean, if you did that and you were expecting Tom Cruise to actually give you that, you are dumb. But anyway, none of us watching are dumb because we did not do this. Or if we did, we realized pretty quickly that it was a bit of a stunt. I actually have just bought Mission Impossible on digital because it just came out. I had it pre-ordered, so it more or less just showed up in my library. I'm looking forward to seeing it at home. But you guys let us know what you thought about all the news, all the quick hits. What was your favorite part of that part of the show, at least? And get into the comments down below. We'd love to hear from you. Every Friday we do a Q&A session, so we bring your comments in and we talk about them. Thank you everybody who goes into the comments and lets us know their thoughts. The Watcher has just joined just in time, and guess what, Watcher and everybody else watching? If you are watching live, hit that like button because we're not done yet. In fact, we're just getting started because, as I like to say, it's time. It's time. It's DC time.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Hunka hunka.
All right, welcome on into the proper part of the show that you guys are all here for. Welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. We are here to talk about Peacemaker, Superman, James Gunn, maybe not contradicting himself. Is he walking into a trap that we have already seen other DC filmmakers walk into in the past? And we'll have to talk about that, get into it, and be more specific than that. But until we do, John, we're hours away from Peacemaker dropping its very first episode of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on what's on deck here for DCU Daily today? What's your favorite part that you're looking forward to getting into and talking about?
I'm curious to know your thoughts on the fucking Super Saga and how you're gonna have your rant of the day. So very intrigued with that.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of hinted at that at the very top of the show, and I'm glad you guys sat through the news part of the show, and now we're here to talk about DC proper. Victory is mine. Yes, victory is ours indeed. In fact, if it's anything to be said about Peacemaker, if season 1 was good, then it looks like season 2 might be even better. Yeah, Enterprising Hunter, all of you guys were asking about it. We even saw some new names in the chat. But before we get into the Superman saga, John, let's talk about the movie that is already out in theaters. It looks like now it's become. I mean, I don't think this is a surprise. We sort of called it, a while ago. But it looks like it's more definitive than ever at this point that Superman is not going to catch up to Man of Steel's worldwide box office number. It's crossed 600 million. It's looking like it's going to finish up somewhere between 600 to 620 million. Rich is saying gonna break 600 million this week. I think it already has. I'm going to see if I can find out. But John, your thoughts on again, the comparison I feel like we've talked about in the past is not necessarily the most fair because they're coming out at 12 years apart, the box office, which usually I think that would be within the realm that you'd be thinking, okay, you can compare them apples to apples. They're 2 Superman solo movies, and 12 years apart is not that much. But we have been through a whole pandemic in that time, and people's viewing habits have changed, and it's just we are now at a point now where people don't go to the movies as often. They maybe don't go at all, and just wait till the movie's out on streaming. It's now out on streaming, so that's also going to affect it. It's not on HBO Max. You can buy it on digital or you can rent it. But Superman, you don't have to go into the movie theater to see it anymore. So it's, as of the last official check, 597.3 million. John, it's getting closer to that number, the 600 million mark, but it's not quite there yet. The projections currently say, like I was mentioning earlier, it's going to finish somewhere between 600 to 620 million. Do you think that counts as a disappointment, or do you think this is going to be still very much a success, even though it doesn't catch the 670 million box office haul of Man of Steel?
I don't think it's a failure. I think we were like not thinking of the box office when people were guessing, oh, it's 1 billion, 800 million, all that stuff. Um, I think it would have been nice, but I don't think it'll get that far. Obviously it'll get like 620, but the fact it got very close in this climate says a lot. I know, I've seen pictures of Snyder Code to be like, we're making Warner Brothers our bitch because we boycotted it enough to not reach minutes. It's like, bro, if you boycotted this movie, you didn't do fucking donkey dick if it managed to be within $100 million of a movie from peak superhero fanfare. So like, shut the fuck up. But it just goes to show that like it's still what it did do is still quite the achievement. It still did so much with so little, and the fact that it got there is honestly really awesome to see. Yeah, they cost twice the amount and all that, so
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think ultimately, like I said, it's a bit of a false comparison, apples to oranges,
is.
because the economic environment, the box office, how it's working today is completely different. I feel like if you were living in the world where everybody was going to see movies as often as they were before the pandemic, and things weren't the way they are today, where, for example, Superman is now on digital. You can buy it, you can rent it, and it's been not even 8 weeks, not even a full 2 months since it's been in theaters. And for a movie that crossed $500 million at the box office, like F1, John, is in its 9th week of release. And the earliest we might get it on digital anywhere might be September. So, and James Gunn has sort of given us like, sort of weird reasoning that sort of contradicts itself. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But because it does still bother me that he said, and you mentioned it yesterday, I think, the idea that he said publicly, like, oh, we put it out on streaming, it's complicated, but mostly he was like, it's because he wanted people to be able to see Superman before they saw, of course, Peacemaker season 2. This was the quote from him. Here, I've got it pulled up. And then, of course, now that the movie is on digital, he was saying how you don't need to watch Superman to enjoy Peacemaker, because they're gonna basically explain it anyway. So it's like he's contradicting himself, which bothers me a lot. But because I'm like, what does that actually say about, like, is he lying to us? Is he saying that he doesn't actually have control over when this comes out on digital, like whatever the case might be? But nonetheless, the point is, John, it looks like Superman, while it's not a surprise to us at this point in time, it's not going to catch up to Man of Steel's box office. It doesn't need to, because it will probably make more money, post theatrical, because Man of Steel's reviews and critic score and audience score were much lower. So there's still a lot more hype around this movie than there was around Man of Steel. So what it didn't make at the box office, it can make up for post theatrical. Like, they're making so much money on digital downloads, says Eco Rich. Add the co-branding, merchandising, physical media, HBO Max streaming, future TV revenue, etc. I mean, 1.5 billion might be a bit much, but the merchandise number might get it there. Absolutely. And then all those brand placements and all the WWE partner marketing, that definitely is a big part of it. The tax credits that kicked in, which will help them mitigate some of the costs that they put into the movie. Yeah, 34% drop at the last weekend at the box office is a really good number, considering it just came out on digital. And it does help that James Gunn keeps promoting it. Like, you can still go see it in theaters if you want, or now you can see it at home too. The digital numbers so far, I haven't looked at the reports. There's not been much reporting around it, but I'm sure we'll talk about it before the end of the week, because those numbers will come out soon. So I don't know if you guys have anything like on that front. If you have heard numbers about how well it's doing on digital, you let us know. Yeah, we will talk about that. The DCU games front, watcher, because that is coming up on the slate of news that we've got. In fact, John, it's a couple of stories away, but before we get to that DC games thing that James Gunn was talking about, he also mentioned, I think this was part of one of those interviews you've talked about earlier in the week. And he basically said, look, the DCU, the world of the DCU, and he said it casually, so I don't know if you want to take it at face value, because clearly sometimes James Gunn just says things and then he will, contradict himself later. But the three big factions, so to speak, that sort of rule the zeitgeist of the DCU, at least within the world of the DCU, are metahumans, aka the superheroes, whether they're magical or alien or whatever. The governments, including, of course, we saw that in Superman. The governments were a big part of the story, whether it's the U.S. government, the Jaharnpur, or what was the other country that anyway, there was a third country in the movie. And then, of course, you have the giant firms, and he pointed out you've got, of course, LexCorp. You've got why am I forgetting who runs? What's the company that Maxwell Lord runs? I forget what. Lord Tech.
Lord Tech.
Was Stag Enterprises, and then, of course, the big one he pointed out was Wayne Enterprises, the one company we haven't seen yet. Do you think this kind of forms the big picture ultimately, that all the conflict is going to come from the metahumans coming up against the governments and the giant firms like Wayne Enterprises? Is that the hierarchy of power we were talking about?
Yeah, it just seems like that makes the most sense. That kind of works. It's kind of what it is. That metahumans are probably the thing that can even the playing field in a weird sort of way. Because that's what rules us now is government and corporations. Those are the things that rule us currently. And we aren't lucky enough to have a Superman that fights for us. So we have to, the most we can do, at least in this little old country, is practice our Second Amendment right. And so we don't have that, but it seems like it's kind of using those real world dynamics, but making them very embellished and fabricated in this world that's very, comic booky and very fake and very much escapism, but still having those undercurrent ideas. So I think that's very interesting with how James Gunn is doing that. And yeah, I'm kind of intrigued with this idea.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Wayne Enterprises is going to be one of the big ones. But hey, you know what? Speaking of the video game stuff that you guys were mentioning, we did get James Gunn talking about where those shared canon video games are going to land in the DCU, because when they first announced their slate, they were like, we're going to make sure there's continuity between the games, the television shows, and the movies. We have gotten the movies and the TV shows so far, but we haven't really heard much about the games. And then the reason James Gunn pointed to is because they've got a new, hierarchy of power over at, Warner Brothers Games. Of course, we have talked about this. They did a huge restructuring, so they're working with new people. James Gunn said that they aren't so familiar with, and so things are moving a bit slower than they expected. But he's excited about a few different things, but in particular, and this was part of the Interview Magazine thing where I think he was talking to Rainn Wilson. We mentioned this the other day. And as part of that, he mentioned look, we might be getting something soon, but it's probably still a ways out. I mean, obviously they just scrapped the Wonder Woman game. And so whether it's a revival of the Arkham franchise or more DCU Batman related games, it looks like it's going to be a while. Although, John, just yesterday we saw the Batman Lego game reveal, which is more of an anthology. So that's not really part of the DCU continuity. So, I mean, what do you think about the idea that we might be getting? Still, he's not saying that we're never going to get it, but he's saying it's slow moving. Hopefully we'll get some DCU continuity video games. I wonder if the Batman part of it would be, because we know that's one of the priorities of Warner Brothers Games. So
yeah, what I hope for is it's a character that we would very unlikely see on the big or small screen, so it's not a rush or continuity fuck ups in regards to having that character be in the movies. It's you make a movie or a show, okay, Lanterns, that's definitely coming out, that's greenlit, they were filming, now post-production, now they're working on it, and it would be okay, cool, you have that season 1, and then they're oh, we're announcing a Green Lantern Corps game, and it's going to take place in the DCU. And the thing is, then years go by, there's a lot of developments, 4 or 5 years to develop a good game, and then the thing is, you've already shit out 2 more seasons of this show, and it's oh, well, how do we make this work now, because now there's 2 more seasons of continuity that we have to deal with. So it's I'd rather them have a character that I wouldn't say is totally unlikely. Let's say Let's like The Outsiders, like Batman and The Outsiders, like having The Outside, like like Katana and Geoforce and Halo and all those people, like, oh, they get a game. Like, I don't know, that was just the first team that came up into my head. But are they gonna be ever on the big screen or small screen? Probably not. We got them a little bit in Black Lightning, like a version, and then we got like the Young Justice version, but it's unlikely we're ever going to get The Outsiders. So it makes sense to, like, okay, create a game on them. They exist in this continuity, and this is totally separate. And then you don't have to worry about like that coming into the movie and TV side. So I think they should go in that direction instead of, like, would I love to see and I just realized Gunn is spelled wrong. They recently spoke with Gin, not Gunn. Whoops daisies. Edit your shit, guys. Anyway, would I love to see a Wonder Woman game or a Flash game? Not a Flash game, but a game that contains the character of the Flash, or a Superman game. But I would say just have those be in like a separate continuity, because it's just easier to deal with. Yeah, live service, even though WB said, oh, we're making another live service game. Fuck you. No, we don't. Can we not do that, please? But, that's neither here nor there. That's not really what we're talking about. But yes, fuck live service games. However, that's my thoughts. I don't know if anybody agrees with me on that, but that's what I personally think is, like, for the most part, keep it separate with popular characters. But if you want to bring in smaller characters, have those be in like the DCU canon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. I think there's going to be opportunities to have in-canon games, but also I'm sure they're going to do a lot of stuff like Lego Batman.
Lego Batman is.
Like, exactly. Like, not everything needs to. I think people took it like really literally when he said everything is going to be connected. Like, so not everything, because obviously they have Elseworlds stories, which they can also do that with the games too. Plus, games take longer to develop than movies.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. 4 to 5 years for like a really good game, if without delays, unless you're GTA 6, which takes like
10 years,
fucking 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, these are all great ideas. Deathstroke, JSA, Bronze Tiger. I think, again, if you're the key here is if it's going to tie into the DCU canon, because then you have to think, like you said, John, like 3-4 years ahead. Like, where are you going to be with your cinematic universe? How are these characters? So I think even when they do games that are going to tie into the DCU canon, like you said, there will be largely characters that won't overlap much with the bigger picture story that they're telling. So they're sort of like cornered off a little bit, and there might be some connections, but again, the idea is that you don't have to watch and play and see everything on TV and in a movie theater to follow the DC story. Like, they're creating a world where they're just telling stories of these different characters rather than everything building up like Marvel used to do it. So, or I guess they're trying to do it again. But yeah, exactly. People have told the watcher that Gunn will focus on low tier characters for games or stories for major characters that are not required to watch the DCU. So Superman Year One prequel game could happen. Yeah, exactly. So we will have to see, whether it's a Doom Patrol game, maybe they'll give Suicide Squad a shot. I'm just kidding. They're never going to give that another shot. But as far as your questions in the chat, I did see the whole Huntress Captain Atom rumor. Cosmic Book News has such a tricky track record that I just don't really take their stuff at face value anymore. So, grain of salt. We'll see if it's in the episode tomorrow, the premiere, or if it comes up later in the season. If another more reliable source runs with it, watcher, then we'll talk about it in more detail. But yeah, if you are getting a Huntress and a Captain Atom, I wonder who's going to be playing them. But we'll see. I think that's too much to ask for. But yeah, we'll have to see. Cosmic Book News, I don't trust very much. But Jordan was saying, what are your thoughts on Chris Pratt as Batman and Patrick Schwarzenegger as Nightwing? We did the Batman fan casting last week. I don't think Chris Pratt was a part of it. And I don't think he would be the best fit. But yeah, you guys let us know in the comments what you think about those casting choices. And then Thunderbolt's doing 150 million in TVOD. Eco, I think that bodes well for Superman, because if Thunderbolts did that, then Superman could definitely get close to that number, if not surpass it, because it made a lot more money and was a much more popular movie. Yeah, Cosmic Book News are mostly dirt sheet toilet paper for the most part, as far as my experience goes. But there you go. Constantine game, we've talked about that before too, potentially. That's a good question, Elite Easy. I don't know which version of the Huntress we would get. The fact that it's a rumor, I would just not worry about thinking too hard on what version of Huntress we might get or not get. Yeah, and I agree with you, Frankie. I think keeping the DCU stuff separate would be actually ideally better, because when you're going to video games, you could have a game that is super popular and more people play it than even watch TV shows. But by and large, you're just potentially creating more headaches for yourself if everything has to tie together really closely. Oh, and Ron has been here this whole time. Oh, hi, Ron. Lurking in the chat. How are you doing? Thank you for finally popping your head above the water and saying hello. Damian Wayne game. Any games. Yes. Any games would be great. It would be great. I know John probably doesn't have a good thing to say about Chris Pratt playing Batman by the look on his face. I think John's tired of talking about it.
I just don't think he's fit for the role. That's all. Booster Gold, even though that seems to be Kumail Nanjiani at this point, I think he could fit that, even though he's a little older for that. But yeah.
I think generic games, open world, I think will never be canon to the DCU, because then there's a lot of stuff that needs to line up, which they don't want to be beholden to. But we'll see. But in the meantime, guys, let us know what you think about all the Superman updates. We are not done talking about Superman yet, of course, but we do have to switch gears to talk a little more detail about Peacemaker. John, we are now hours away from Peacemaker Season 2 debuting on HBO Max. So James Gunn went ahead and posted the official playlist updated with the tunes from Season 2, Episode 1, which of course starts airing in literally hours from now. So these are the songs you can find on your Spotify curated playlist, curated by James Gunn, featuring, of course, I think the new intro song, Oh Lord, by Foxy Shazam, as well as a bunch of others. Are you impressed, or did this not quite meet your standard for the Peacemaker Episode 1 of Season 2, the curated playlist by James Gunn himself?
I gotta look, because my camera's right there. So I don't know any of these songs and I don't know any of these bands. So hopefully it's good. I trust James Gunn, because Punk Rocker and 5 Years Time are pretty great songs. So yeah.
So I recognize a couple of those, and I will take them. But we'll have to see. I think this is on Spotify. Yeah, I think this is like a Spotify thing specifically. Like this is a collaboration with Spotify. So I mean, you can always just take these songs and make your own playlist if you have like Apple Music or something. But oh, I've also heard the Peacemaker game as well. Well, yeah, I know a watcher, but it's I'm sure there's like a million different ideas, but it's about like what ultimately makes all the way into production and into release. Like that Wonder Woman game, we never thought they would cancel a game they already sunk $100 million into, but they did. But anyway, Peacemaker Season 2, John, we now know will stream globally through the following partners outside of HBO Max. Just yesterday, we were talking about James Gunn was going to look up where it's going to air everywhere. It looks like DC Film News went ahead and did the research. And Bell Media in Canada, I know a lot of you guys are watching from Canada. If you're in the French part of Canada, Super Écran is going to be where you can find Peacemaker. Sky UK is where you can find it in the UK, and RTL will be carrying it in Germany. Mnet is going to be carrying it in South Africa. beIN Sports will have Peacemaker for you in Qatar, and then Star India will have it in India. Kupang is going to have it for you in Korea. Of course, in the US, we have HBO Max, and there's many other countries where HBO Max is available. So if you have HBO Max where you are, that's where you can see Peacemaker. John, your thoughts on this? Any of these stand out to you? I mean, this is pretty, par for the course. We are, of course, in the US, so we know that's where we'll be watching it on HBO Max. But now I'm glad that people who are, watching, because I know we have an international audience, so this is good.
Yeah, it's just like it's very interesting. Scroll up for a second. Just like it has like the usual suspects, like Canada and Britain and Germany, but then like India, but then it has like interesting ones like Qatar and South Africa, which isn't
those are
bad.
Countries where they don't have HBO Max, so that makes sense.
No, I know.
Right?
I'm saying that's fine. It's just like those are very interesting, like the countries that wouldn't register to me, I guess. So I mean, no offense to people who live in those countries. I'm just like, okay.
It's a good question in terms of who's releasing it first, Eco. I mean, I have a feeling, unlike a movie, I think they're gonna release it probably at the earliest you're gonna see it is probably gonna be in the US, which means it might even be like the next day in other parts of the world. But don't take my word for it, because I, for one, didn't see James Gunn post about this. He mentioned he was gonna try to get all the times. But hey, if it is coming out same day everywhere and same local time, then the further east you are, the earlier you're going to get it. So I think that the farthest east country in this list is South Korea. So I mean, people in South Korea might already be watching it, or they might be only a couple of hours away from watching it. So, but yeah, we will have to just wait and see. I'm sure we'll get that information. I think James Gunn, like we said, we were talking about it yesterday. He was going to go find that info for us, but at least we know where you can see it. So if you are living in the UK, Germany, Qatar, India, South Korea, these are some big markets. Canada, of course, even if you're in, the French Canadian parts of Canada. Well, there's a couple of provinces in Canada. I forget. Is it? It's you got Quebec, and yeah. Anyway, goes to tell you how much I know about Canada. Anyway, so
Yeah, fuck you, Canada. I'm just kidding.
John said that, and his opinions are his own.
No, I like Canada. Canada's pretty cool. That's where everyone is gonna mass exodus to. So when this becomes like Handmaid's Tale. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yep. We'll be all like living the end of Logan. Hopefully none of us like suffer the fate of Logan. But Quebec, yes, New Brunswick. Thank you, Tony. I think like Tony's in Canada, Ron's in Canada. There you go. They do. Yes, Qatar has a huge wrestling fan base. I mean, yeah, the Middle East loves wrestling. Well, Ron, hey, we'll take your word for it. But the point is, Peacemaker available to watch pretty much everywhere around the world. If you have HBO Max in your country, you can see it on HBO Max. If not, then these are some of the other countries where you have a local network carrying it. So if you have that channel, that's where you'll find it. With that said, John, James Gunn did do another interview promoting the show. Of course, this was the Crew Call podcast, and this is on Deadline, where James Gunn mentioned that the initial Peacemaker season 2 outline had white supremacist superhero villains. Your thoughts on this? Because I thought we were kind of done with that in season 1, right? Like, do you think that?
It makes sense because maybe people were inspired by White Dragon, so
I that's true. I guess that would make sense, but it looks like they changed direction a little bit. I was kind of surprised.
Like, let's try to have this be more escapism than real life, because we're kind of heading there with real life. So, yeah, let's just kind of diverge a little bit. So,
you guys are still throwing out video game ideas. The Watcher saying that they just got a scoop that not DC related, but they heard that there's a couple of Lord of the Rings movies in development based on Tolkien appendices. I think we've talked about it. They're doing not only the whole Hunt for Gollum, they've got a couple of other movies, and then even beyond that, they've got a few things in mind. But in development is a whole different deal from being greenlit. So we'll see how far it goes, but it's not surprising that they're trying to monetize more of that Tolkien mythology. So. Eco saying White Dragon is alive in the universe he travels to based on the previews. Yeah, I think so too. I think we're gonna get some of that in this season as well, from the parallel realities. Like Eco was saying earlier, James Gunn has mentioned there's potentially at least 100 parallel universes. So Huntress might be the daughter of an alternate Batman. Like, if you were to get a Huntress cameo, it might be from the alternate universe. I think that's probably more likely how we get some of those other cameos, because so far we haven't seen a ton of heroes outside of what we got in Superman. So it's got to be one of those. I doubt they're going to introduce brand new major heroes in Peacemaker, because then people will be like, I thought you said you don't need to watch Peacemaker to watch everything else, But we'll see. Yeah, T1000 White Dragon. Yeah, maybe he comes. Robert Patrick is coming back, so I'd imagine that we'll see him in the parallel reality. One interesting thing about the parallel reality idea, James Gunn did try to differentiate that these are not technically these are alternate dimensions and not so much parallel universes, but then he sort of contradicted himself in the same sentence. So I don't know how to the how closely he's following a logic with regards to the alternate dimension that Peacemaker opens up, the quantum, was it unfolding, whatever the chamber thing is, versus what we saw with the pocket dimension in Metropolis.
I mean, even Frank Grillo says just like what's Lex Luthor has. So yeah,
exactly. Because Argus gets involved with Peacemaker because they're worried that he's got something that is as dangerous as what Lex Luthor had, which tracks. But yes, MTG saying I love Canada. Other than Toronto, Montreal is a sleepier city. Some people might like that. Some people might like that.
Yeah, I mean,
dude is getting a little
Adam
at times.
Yes, kind of makes sense though. Because they're both Charlton Comics characters, so having them and like be in the same
Same.
show. There's precedent for it because both of those characters would have appeared in Alan Moore's Watchmen if he was able to use those characters. So it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Patrick asking a question: do you think DCU will ever do a Dr. Fate movie? I wouldn't mind it. I don't know if that's something they're looking at right now. I mean, I genuinely don't think that's something that's on their mind. And I don't even think Pierce Brosnan would probably come back. And the longer you wait, the less likely it is that he comes back. So eventually, sure. Is it happening anytime soon? Probably not. Bane will break you saying in Gunn's podcast he mentions he had an alternate ending where Peacemaker sided with the butterflies. So we might get an alternate dimension where the butterflies took over. Could be. I mean, they might show more than just the one alternate universe where things are all kinds of better for Peacemaker and Chris Smith. I'd imagine they're saving that for the actual show and not showing that and giving that away in the trailer. So, yeah, would love to see a Dr. Fate movie. We all would. I think if done right, it could do really well. I just don't think it's going to be a priority, not anytime soon. More Wildstorm characters. Yes, but again, it's very speculative because James Gunn might like the idea, but I mean, there's only so many things they can do at one time. So I would imagine you're at least 4 or 5 years away because everything in development right now mostly does not feature Wildstorm characters. Any DC movie can happen. I think Zatanna and Chimp would be most likely just a theory. Yeah, exactly. We can talk all night long with regards to all these characters. Nightwing, I think we're going to get in Brave and the Bold, but until then, I don't think we're getting him. Amazon likely have TV rights to Lord of the Rings, but who knows? Hunt Gollum movie. Amazon only has the TV rights to like those those few pieces that they bought for Rings of Power. So if they are doing something with that as a movie, then maybe it's for Amazon Prime, which I guess you can maybe get away with calling it as a TV movie as opposed to like a proper feature theatrical movie. So I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. That's what we can say to a lot of that. But John, now we get into the big time, the main event topic of the day. So let me set the stage. As I said at the very start of the show, James Gunn has been talking a lot about, well, he's working on a Superman sequel that is not a Superman sequel, but that has Superman in it as like a featured character that is a quasi-Superman sequel, and yet it's not a Superman sequel. It's more of a super family sequel that is part of a Superman saga, so it might feature other super characters, but maybe it doesn't. But it's not going to have Batman and Wonder Woman, but it's going to have Superman. Then like blah, 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 blah. Apparently the story about the Superman movie, John, is going to take place over the course of 4 movies. And now James going to share some new details about when he might even film this thing. It looks like he's not quite 100% sure about it. But what he said was, while non-committal does give us a better idea, we mentioned the other day that reportedly they might be looking at a June release in 2027 for this super family film. So James Gunn, when he was asked about exactly that by Chris Hardwick, he said, I can say that probably the next movie we're going to be making is a follow-up to Superman, which I don't want to get into too much detail on, but like that's what's probably the next film we're making. And then he says, I think, well, hopefully we're making the Batman Part 2 before that, and then I think it's Superman follow-up. And then we have another TV show, which nobody knows about, which is going next. So it seems like he's confirmed that we might be getting this new Superman follow-up in 2027. And depending on how early Matt Reeves might be ready to go, it might film before or right after the Batman. I mean, I don't know why he can't film concurrently.
Yeah.
But are you surprised that James Gunn is pretty much confirming what we were talking about the other day? And then also, what is this new mystery TV show he's talking about that nobody knows about?
That's a lot.
I know, right? Not to mention we're gonna get into the whole 4-part Superman saga in a bit. But
so it seems like we're gonna be getting that after Clayface, and so it seems like in terms of the DCU, Clayface, then Superman, obviously including the Becks, that epic
crime saga.
So then you have that, and so I would imagine that this movie, the Superman sequel, comes out in 2028. I would make sense. And that would be 3 years, which I think is a good
amount of time. Remember, have 3 years in between each sequel. Because look, in terms of the successful Batman movies, Batman 89, then 3 years later you had Batman Returns, and then 3 years later you had Batman Forever, and then only 2 years later you had Batman and Robin. Boom, loose cannon. Don't have 2 years, at least 3, so you have time to work on it. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Perfect. So I think 2028 is probably when we're going to be getting this. And then after that, we have another TV show, which nobody knows about, which makes me believe that it's not one of the ones that were announced. Waller, Booster Gold, or whatever. Oh, sorry. So yeah, that's definitely seems like the case.
I'm eating, but I mean, if it's not like Booster Gold or Paradise Lost, what can it be? I guess is my question.
What can it be? I don't know.
You guys tell us in the comments. I'm gonna chew on that for a little while. As far as what this show. What?
It's just gonna become a mukbang. That's what this is gonna devolve into. Just us eating. Yes, you do have the Mr. Terrific and Jimmy Olsen show, but again, those were announced, so I'm not sure.
But he's saying like nobody knows about the show. I mean, we know about Booster Gold and Paradise Lost. We just haven't heard about them in a long time. So what is he? I mean, that's the question. That is literally like, again, this whole thing about he likes to say, "Oh yes, I'm doing so many cool things. You guys have no idea." It's like every other day he like lets loose some like strange rumor. And I'm like, dude, you better be able to cash all these checks you're writing. You know what I mean? It's like, what is this show that we don't know about? Like, is it one of those things that's a spinoff of Superman? I don't understand how this is going to tie into the larger story. It might even be that this is the Penguin season 2 or something like that, because obviously Lauren LaFranc just got a new deal with with HBO Max overall deal. So I don't know. You guys let us know in the comments down below. What is this new mysterious TV show James Gunn has greenlit that is going to go into production soon that nobody knows about, according to him? And then, of course, do you think he's going to go into production on the Superman sequel or quasi-sequel before even the Batman Part 2? Knowing Matt Reeves, I would bet on the fact that he would. But maybe the TV show is... Never mind. Yes, that's exactly how we feel about it. But you know, John, I feel some kind of way about the next thing. Yeah, the Penguin 2 would be a dream. This next thing, John, you have already ranted like 5 times about Marvel, but let me talk to you. James Gunn has confirmed that the Superman saga will consist of 4 movies. Specifically, if you scroll down this article on comicbookmovie.com, he talked about, of course, this is not a proper sequel to Superman in the strictest sense. But then in this line here, in one of his recent passing comments, where he doesn't even address it directly, but he's asked about like, what are your wider plans for the DCU? He basically were just like, oh, you know, blah, 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 blah. What is the long-term story I'm telling here? What is the story that I'm going to tell about Superman over 4 movies? And blah, 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 blah. But like, hold on. Superman about over 4 movies. We've gotten 1 Superman movie so far. Do we get a lot of Superman and Supergirl? I guess that's the question. We know this quasi-Superman sequel will have a lot of Superman in it, but he's not a Superman movie per se. If you remember, John, it wasn't that long ago that there was another director, possibly, you know, man in charge of a cinematic universe that was also happened to be a DC extended universe, as they used to call it. Not that he called it that, but I do strictly remember Zack Snyder talking about his 5 movie arc that was largely focused on the story of Superman, including the death and rebirth of Superman, all the way to the nightmare future and then ultimate redemption. And, you know, that ended up not quite working out the way Zack Snyder planned, obviously. We ended up getting what, you know, Warner Brothers colloquially called the Zack Snyder trilogy. But what is different about what James Gunn is trying to do? The idea that, again, if it's not a proper Superman sequel, that alone worries me, because I'm like, are we getting a Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice? He said that we are not, but then he keeps saying super family, and I'm like, sure, okay, you don't put Wonder Woman and Batman in it. But I'm like, functionally, if it's another Superman follow-up, which is a team-up movie and not a proper Superman 2, I don't care if you call him Huntress or Enchantress or Nightwing or some other shit, or as opposed to Batman and Wonder Woman. It's not a Superman 2. Not to mention a 4-movie saga. Like, what is he referring to? Is he talking about Supergirl, or is Supergirl its own thing and Superman might just cameo in it? So many questions. We have seen it go south before, and I mentioned just a few minutes ago, James Gunn is, writing a lot of checks, and I hope he can cash them. What are your thoughts on this? Because I certainly am kind of skeptical, because it's not like, and yes, it's hard to compare it to the Man of Steel era, like that Superman did not make as much money as Man of Steel did. But again, Superman wasn't like $1 billion hit. So it's not like he has got carte blanche with the budget, right? Like, it's, if Supergirl doesn't do so well, which has got a lot of competition next year, I'm just thinking, like, are they taking too many risks here, like right out the gate? Like, I know he's in charge, but is he starting to drink too much of his own Kool-Aid, or am I just getting it all wrong?
I think this is I think he's just kind of thinking of I think what he's just trying to do is just build it around Superman. Like, Superman is going to have its own concurrent thing, but like the things are going to be built around this character, which I think is the best course of action, because it's the character we need right now, and building it as sort of this hopeful hero, that this is going to be the backbone. This is going to be the spine. And I know people go, oh, well, Zack Snyder. First off, Zack Snyder hasn't read a fucking comic book in all his fucking life, except for Dark Knight Returns, maybe, if I'm being nice. So first off, we actually have a guy who understands comic book characters. First off. So don't give me that fucking Zack Snyder comparison bullshit. First off. Second,
I'm not saying it's a direct comparison. It's more
I'm
of
just
a
saying.
analogous.
Like, oh, Zack Snyder.
It's
Zack
analogous.
Snyder can eat my asshole, first off. Second,
whoa.
The whole thing is that what Zack Snyder wanted to do was he just wanted to make 5 movies. That was it. He didn't want to build a cinematic universe, which, like, that resulted in miscommunication between Zack Snyder and higher-ups. Higher-ups wanted a cinematic universe because they wanted to copy Marvel. Zack Snyder's like, I just want to make these 5 movies because reasons. I don't fucking know. But that was a miscommunication between what the higher-ups wanted and what Zack Snyder wanted. The thing is, we don't have that. There's no middleman. There's no miscommunication, because the man making the movies and the higher-ups are the same exact fucking person. So we don't have like this whole like, oh, this is what I want, this is what you want. He only answers to David Zaslav and maybe Peter Safran as his business partner, and that's it. Like, even that's being nice. So there's that as well. And so the whole Superman saga I feel like it's gonna be the backbone of this DCU. Like, Superman, they're gonna build around this is the spine, and then you have Supergirl and Lanterns. These are all the muscles and tendons and blood and systems of the human body. That's all gonna pile on this. Meanwhile, that spine and the brain, that's Superman. And I think that that's what he's building with this whole saga. I think what he's gonna do.
I'm just getting tired of the word saga, to be honest. I'm like, stop calling it a fucking saga.
You know what?
Like,
I will say this. I prefer saga to trilogy, because I'm sick of trilogies. Like, everyone has to be a trilogy. It's gonna be the Batman trilogy. It's gonna be this trilogy, that trilogy. Fuck trilogies. I want sagas.
I hate the saga word because it reminds me of, because it always throws me back to the Skywalker saga. I'm like, oh god, like, I do not want to be reminded of the Skywalker saga. And I do not. So I'm like, the whole multiverse saga, Infinity Saga. It's like marketing terms. Who gives a shit? Like, it's like I don't know. I just have a thing for.
To be fair, he never said. To be fair, James Gunn never said saga. It's all the outlets that said Superman saga. So
yeah,
there's that.
That's fair, I suppose.
It's not the only thing DC related that is saga that has been coined saga officially is the Batman Epic Crime Saga, which, yes, is kind of a stupid name. However, James Gunn didn't say saga. These people said saga. So there is that.
Yeah. The Norse sagas are classic. By the way, I am playing a bit of a devil's advocate. I'm not saying James Gunn does not know what he's doing. I'm sure he knows what he's doing, but it does raise certain questions, like, 4 films surrounding the Superman story. Is he talking like, there's going to be a trilogy of Superman movies and that Super Family movie?
Having comics and reading them are 2 very different things, by the way. I own a lot of comics. I haven't read all of them, so there's that.
But hey, you would think that you would say that you are well versed in them, right? Like, I don't think Zack Snyder is somebody who's
I haven't read every fucking thing.
I'm just saying Zack Snyder's probably not somebody who's only read like one or two either. Like I think he knows enough to do what he did. But and again, whether you like it or don't like it, his taste in comics is clearly very particular. But again, that's another point. Going back to this story though, I do wonder if MTG is asking a very legitimate question, and this is one of the questions I forgot. Like if this is a 4-part thing that's focused around Superman, does Supergirl count in that? Like, is Supergirl one of those 4 movies that is going to tell the Superman story, the super family story, John? Like, do you think Supergirl is one of those movies, or is Superman's? Because Superman technically probably will have a cameo in it. Like, how do you take that?
I think it's meaning Superman is the main character or one of the main characters. That's what I think.
Okay.
I don't think Supergirl counts.
All right. Well, Tony giving us a nice rundown of what's we've gone so far, what's on the horizon. Yeah, as a casual fan, I mean, you look at the slate so far, what's in development, what's already come out for the DCU. Where is Batman? Where is Wonder Woman? I mean, they are in development, but so far none of them have gotten the green light. And I do wonder, speaking of Justice League, John, what could, again, we ask this question almost every day, but what could be this super family movie? If he's already got it ready to go, it looks like it's going to be the next movie filming potentially even before the Batman Part 2, or even if it films after the Batman Part 2. That means it's going to be before the DCU Batman is introduced, before the DCU Wonder Woman is introduced. So what could it possibly be about if it's not even a proper Superman sequel, but has Superman in it? I can only think of it being like a team-up movie. So, like, yeah, is it a team-up movie? Is it another semi-solo Superman movie? I don't understand what he's... This is the thing about teasing this stuff, right? Like, stop talking about this shit until you actually got it all squared away. I know he's excited to share all this stuff with us, but it just, you know, I know it keeps the conversation going, but it also drives negative press. So I don't know, John, do you have any ideas, any new ideas you care to share about the subject of this super family movie that it might be or might not be?
Yeah, I think, whoa, hello. Okay, so I think,
he said Saga in the interview on the red carpet for Peacemaker. There you go. James Gunn caught with a cookie, his hand in a cookie jar, I should say. Thank you, Antonio, for clarifying.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why this is such a fucking debacle of fucking shit. Like, goddamn, it's just we're just talking about comic books, man. I don't know why everyone's...
I don't know. You were pretty passionate about all the Marvel stuff. I mean, I guess I'm just
saying, like, it's just James Gunn talking, and like half of what he says, who knows if that's true or not.
But this is the
that's
thing,
what
like,
Yash says. So,
like, but why does he not realize that what he says now actually, you know, gets people talking? Like, you're making news every time you talk. I feel like Kevin Feige learned that lesson a long time ago, and he's very careful with his words. James Gunn just willy-nilly talks things to the point where he completely, you know, contradicts himself sometimes. You know, he clearly contradicted himself on the reason why Superman is on digital early, to the point where, like, he invalidated the reason why. He said it was primarily so you can watch it before Peacemaker. Then he said you don't have to. So I'm like, what's the point? Like, leave it exclusively in theaters a bit longer, giving away the fact that maybe he's not in control of putting Superman out on digital this early. Like, it's just, it's like he doesn't need to fight these fights. He can just be like, no comment. I can't talk about it. Like, he said it about some things, but in other things, and I'm kind of also getting like Liz. I'm getting tired of him. Like, oh, look, there's this really cool thing we're doing that nobody knows about. Like, and we're saving this story because we didn't want anybody else to copy it. I'm like, what are you, like a fucking 5-year-old? Like, you didn't want another studio to copy it? The word gets around.
Fair.
But like, word gets
Marvel
around,
did
John.
that like 3 or 4 different times with their movies, and look what happens. So, you know.
I hear you, but like I said, word gets around. If somebody's gonna find, like, you know, Hollywood leaks like a sieve. So I don't care if James Gunn ain't talking about it. Like, it could still get out there.
There you go, Elite Easy.
Yeah.
Iron Sheik is coming for you, Kevin Feige. Anyway,
Kevin Feige is fine. Didn't hurt digital.
Kevin
didn't hurt
Feige can
That's
suck
true.
these nuts.
True. It makes sense to me, in my opinion, the Superman saga. Okay, fair enough. Oh, Marco's there. Hi, Marco. And then Bass Reeves is there. What happened to Snyder will happen to Gunn. Wait for it. I mean, look, even for me, who was sort of like seemingly very anti-Gunn at the start of this segment, I'll tell you this much. So far, James Gunn has delivered on the promises. I just think he's signing a few checks he might not be able to cash, and eventually that will catch up to you. So that's what I worry about. Like, it's like, just don't say it. Just don't talk about it. Like, it's have a little more self-control. Like, he says that he's not on social media as often as he used to be. I don't believe it. I don't know if anybody here believes it. I don't think, John, you believe it. The man is still, he was like, oh yeah, just pooping and in between things I'm doing this. I'm like, there's no way. This fucking man like probably lies in bed at 4 a.m. at night answering people's questions because he's got insomnia or some shit like that. Because I don't know. I would if I wrote 600 pages and shot 600 pages. The adrenaline never leaves his body. Yeah. But anyway. Frankie, I like cool new things, but this is the store grand opening, not time to experiment, says Tony. Exactly. I think we need to bring in some of those safe characters, which is why I think it's David Zaslav told him, where the hell is Wonder Woman? And that's why Wonder Woman is all of a sudden, like he said, hold on to that Titan script, Ana Naguera. We need you to work on Wonder Woman and expedite it. It's just, I think he talks about this stuff publicly in a way most people in his position as a studio head don't, because it becomes like a PR thing. I appreciate the candid nature of what he says, but then, it leads to conversations like this. So, anyway, whether it's 4 solo movies or, a Superman saga, which features every movie features Superman, like what Zack Snyder potentially wanted to do, I will just have to wait and see. He's not like he's a Treasury Secretary where like the markets shift. Well, I mean, I guess if you're dealing in fan sentiment, then the markets do shift clearly, but. Yeah, it's a SAGs now. It is a SAGs, Marco. A saga. A 4-movie saga of Superman. Tony Randall going off on Bass Reeves. 4 Superman movies equals 4 Superman villains. I'm all in. Well, speaking of which, John, wow, that's a close-up shot of John's face. Yes, it's a marathon. Whoa, that's way closer than I want.
Extreme close-up. Whoa. Sorry, I'm adjusting myself.
Have you seen Kevin Feige lately? He's talking out his behind. Yeah, well, I mean, that's not entirely false. When do you think we can expect?
Well, that's Wonder Woman when she retires and becomes mortal and has old age. That's what happens with that.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about that today. But when are we getting the second Superman movie? James Gunn says he's going to start filming it either around the same time, before or after the Batman Part 2, which we know films in spring 2026. Therefore, I'd imagine probably 2027 or 2028 when we get this second Superman-related movie. So, yeah. John, thank you. They copied the DCEU.
Why are you saying thank you to me? I don't think they copied the DCEU. It's fucking...
Are my eyes okay, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Are my eyes okay?
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't think Wonder Woman is gonna have that problem. Don't you worry. She doesn't age. She's like immortal, basically. I don't understand that.
Or she has itty bitty titty, just like a Gal Gadot. But those don't be sagging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Supergirl doing well next year will be a big test for the DCU. But okay, as you guys were talking about the whole thing of if there's 4 Superman movies, that means we're getting 4 Superman villains. That's actually a nice transition to talking about. Well, we've got Fancast Fridays coming up, don't we? Let me see if I can find the graphic. Here it is. John, this is how we will bring today's show to a close. Another reminder, Fancast Fridays, less than 2 days away. Of course, on this Friday, we're going to be doing that. And so far, we've got 4 options, of which Brainiac was in the lead. Speaking of Supergirl, we don't have Supergirl on the list because we already have one in the DCU, but we do have a Power Girl option. So whether you want to vote for Brainiac, recasting Cap and Tony, Professor X, Magneto, or a Power Girl or Brainiac, you've got these options. The poll is live still. Let's do a quick check on where things stand. These are the current live results. Brainiac in the lead, 48%. So speaking of Superman villains, it looks like we'll be fan casting Brainiac this Friday. John and I have already discussed some options for some of these. So if you guys want to mess with our plans, then maybe you're going to vote for Power Girl. But John has backup plans in place for that. Also, next Tuesday, we're going to do another tier list Tuesday. The options are Green Lantern characters, John Wick movies, Spider-Man movies, and MCU Phase 1 movies. That's an option that's returning from last week. These are the live results right now. It looks like Green Lantern characters clearly in the lead, with Spider-Man movies, John Wick movies, and Phase 1 MCU movies quite a ways behind. So, yeah, it looks like Brainiac Eco is what we're going to be talking about this Friday. After the Toxic Avenger, I'm sure Peter Dinklage wouldn't mind joining up the DCU. But Sydney Sweeney, of course. Alan Tudyk could work, Watcher, but hey, you know what?
Alan Tudyk he's Dr. Phosphorus, so he's already James Gunn said one major character per actor, so it's not so yeah, there are like voiceover stuff, but like it's Alan Tudyk would never do Brainiac.
All right. Well, like I said, you guys can go to the community section, the post section on YouTube, vote for Tier List Tuesday, vote for Fancast Friday. But we'll be back tomorrow. It's going to be John. And speaking of Liz, I know one of you guys was asking about it. Liz and John will be on the show tomorrow carrying the day. It's going to be DCU Daily times Those So Curious. And we'll get a couple of movie reviews. Peacemaker debuts tomorrow, but depending on when we go live, I think, John, we might have to wait till Friday to do the review for episode 1. So we'll see if the timing works out. But nonetheless, we'll be talking about Peacemaker, I'm sure, and all the details, the fun,
but that's a
details.
voiceover. It's a voiceover character, not an actual physical character. So,
and with that, guys, that's gonna bring us to a close for the night. It's been a fun show. So, what? Don't leave. It's early. It's early for you, man. We're on the East Coast. It's 2 a.m. Anyway, as the watcher is saying, peace. And we'll be watching some Peace tomorrow. Hit the like button on the way out, like John just tell y'all to do. Hit subscribe if you're new. We see new names in the chat each and every day. We appreciate you guys. We love that you're here. We wouldn't be here without you. Hit the notification bell, and we'd love to see you guys on the next live show. That's how you'll know when we go live. With that, John, as James Gunn and Superman would tell you, don't forget to look up
and peace. Of course, eat some peace, because Peacemaker is premiering today at 9 p.m. Eastern. So don't forget that, guys.
On HBO Max or whichever channel carries it in your country. We'll see you next time on DCU Daily.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Honka honka.
Right. Fuck Jeff.
He won!
Bye. Spin off.